currently on the agenda, we have number F.
Mm-hmm.
And that is appointing a member to the Budget Committee, and Brad Rickard is scheduled to talk about that. And so that's already going to be discussed. And so I'm not sure we need to change the agenda.
Okay.
But from what I understand, Commissioner Pash wants to just talk about, do we have a member on F proposed to be appointed?
We have 2 applications. that
This
were
would be
in
the third.
packet,
Okay.
And Commissioner Boyce is proposing that we add the 3rd
Okay. Well, did the application come in? I mean,
today.
This morning.
okay. Well, again, so the board will consider all that information when you talk about F. So I think it's just a matter of adding that to the already existing discussion. I don't think it's an agenda amendment.
So we have a consensus there.
Yeah, we'll
Do
just
you
talk
agree,
about
Commissioner
it.
Herzog?
That we'll talk about adding.
What to do.
When we get to F?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's, as I understand, it has officially been added to F, and then we will discuss if we want to vote today. Simple?
Yep, you're going to discuss the entire topic already.
Thank you. Commissioner Pash, do you have anything further on the
Nothing
agenda
further,
amendments?
thank you.
Commissioner Herzog?
Nothing?
I have 6A, appoint 3 members to the Lipsick Local Public Safety Coordinating Council. I don't have I don't have applications or information on these people. And I know some of them, but it looks like another real or perceived rush to make a vote. So I would like to table that until I get some information, better informed on how I can vote, to the March 3rd business meeting. So do I have consensus on that? Did you get any information?
No, sir.
Thank you. Did you, Commissioner Pash?
I know most of these people on here. I haven't seen any applications. Are there applications, Mr. Rickard?
No. Lipsick
Okay, you don't require
has
one.
never required applications, now that I'm remembering. It's never required applications.
But the public would expect us to follow through with that, I think. And so I can't vote on anybody. It's pretty simple. I can't vote on anybody I don't know or don't have information on.
Yeah, understood. If the board would like us to start taking applications for that, for Lipsick, I will get back to Wendy Lang and have her reach out to those applicants and fill it out.
Thank you. Do we have agreement on that then?
If it's what the chair requires, yeah.
Thank you. On 7A, on the SARS equipment, I think we're going to need a pretty good discussion on that. And that's a very complex program on Title III. So I'm going to need some more time on that, and I'm going to encourage the board to consider that. So that's all I have. Anything else last minute? Excuse me, Director Rickard?
One simple contract to add to discussion action item would be letter G.
It's a contract?
Yeah.
Okay.
7 what, Brad?
G.
7G, FG, okay.
Chief or go?
Contract.
Looking for a motion, gentlemen.
Will we approve the agenda as amended?
Second?
Discussion? Director Rickard, did you have anything else? I'm sorry.
That was it.
I thought I heard you say one, but I wasn't certain
Just the
there.
one.
Further discussion? Roll call, please. Staff Jesuit.
Commissioner Pash,
Aye.
Vice Chair Herzog,
Yes.
Chair Boyce.
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously.
Agenda is amended. Thank you, board.
Can I ask a question? Did
Yes.
we just pull the,
No.
the Title III out the agenda?
No.
Okay.
Public comment. Lee Gerson, Noise Ordinance. Welcome. Sometimes you have to adjust the microphones, if you would, please.
Gotcha.
The one on the right also. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Lee Grierson. I live at 30672 Old Coast Road over in Rogue Shores. And this is about the noise ordinance, which I just learned about, probably like a lot of people, on the front page with the Curry Coastal Pilot article, which I'll quote right here a small little bit. The county began, that means the county didn't even consider this before this incident. The county began considering an ordinance when a woman came before commissioners and complained about an ongoing problem where she lives. She said the constant thumping of music next door, day and night, has become almost unbearable. And this is a quote by Mr. Fortman. The woman that came before the board has a chronic problem. Well, that's definitely a fact. And this gives us a tool to deal with it. Well, that woman, as soon as I read that, I knew exactly who it was. It's my next door neighbor. Her and her living boyfriend.
Hey, this is getting a little personal, okay?
No.
Please.
No, it'll come back around. Is Mike Mann and his girlfriend Gina,
You're getting personal.
who are not residents of Curry County. They're residents of California, Hollywood, California, actually, and they have a vacation rental here. But they are personal friends of members of this board. That's how this came up. That's not right. There's no music that gets played in our house. I live with a 73-year-old lady. She's mobility impaired. Neither one of us even own a stereo bigger than a TV speaker, but I am a hobby songwriter. And maybe every couple of weeks, maybe, I'll spend a couple of hours out on our deck on a nice night with that acoustic guitar right there, no amp, and I'll play music. What the real problem is here is she's being vindictive, and we've been doing massive improvements to our property in 2020 to the tune of over $150,000 during a pandemic when real citizens of Curry County needed work. It's kind of our own little personal economic stimulus plan and to redistribute the wealth a little bit when it was really needed. Well, we had a survey done. That was $2,500. And as you can see, their property is actually on our property. That wasn't a problem with us, but they've been claiming our yard for years to the point of having their landscaper come over, chop all of our bushes down so they can have a view. Well, we put that to an end this year, and part of that $150,000 was I'd put a fence up where it was supposed to be, so there's no argument anymore where the property line is. And it's filed with the county. And that is why the real residents of Curry County are having their civil liberties stripped from them, every single one, without even a right to vote on it. A handful of people are going to take everybody's rights away. When they can say things, what decibel level they can say things, when they can make a living. And it is just vindictiveness.
Mr. Grierson, I'm going to
people-
ask you to, if you would please,
If people
consider
were just-
writing an email and summarizing everything you just offered. I don't know, as far as personal friends, I don't know
Right.
what you're talking about there. I can't speak for the other commissioners, but I
Roger.
appreciate if, I'm going to ask both parties
Roger.
to send us a written email document that we can further analyze this and see if we can possibly offer some direction for both of you to essentially find peace.
Gotcha.
Thank you. Your time is up, sir.
I just want the residents of Curry County to be on record why their rights are being stripped away. And it's made up. And this is like a civics 101 lesson here.
Thank you. Commissioner Pash?
Thank you, guys.
For the record, I have never met
Thank
the
you,
woman that came in here and made the complaint before. I have no relationship with her at all. That's just for the record.
Thank you. Commissioner Herzog?
Well, I wish he would have stuck around a second. I believe he was misinformed. That lady was from Brookings on Ocean View.
We're going to ask you to do the same thing. Just go ahead and write. You've already testified twice, which we greatly appreciate. Very happy you're back here today, but I don't want to... I understand. David Barnes, Noise Ordinance? Hey, how about Mary Rowe?
She just,
That's okay.
Thank you for finally accommodating my disability, Commissioner Boyd.
You might want to adjust the microphone. Welcome.
You know that I have, the microphone is fine, but Chair Pash, when he was chair, read into the record my reasonable accommodation request and my doctor's letter requesting that if need be, the microphone be adjusted for me as I cannot see in one eye and I'm losing sight in the other. That is an accommodation that this county has granted me. So the microphone is fine, but if I ever need it to be adjusted,
We'll be glad to help.
I will not be the one adjusting it, Commissioner Boyce.
Okay, so do you want help now?
No.
Okay, thank you.
If I could, real brief, for the record, I did give that letter of her doctor's notice back to her. JJ, I put in an envelope, and JJ gave that back to her, but for the record, she did provide that to the board.
And it was read into the record at a meeting, so it's already been granted.
Thank you.
I'm Mary Rowe. I'm here today to ask you to amend 2 ordinances. I am asking you to amend the ordinance that created the Housing Committee on December 16th, 2020. In this ordinance, there is a seat on the Housing Committee for a county staff person. This seat was included because of a past ordinance that requires that a staff person be assigned to all such committees. I have been unable to find this past ordinance, nor even the name of it, although this BOC made reference to it when creating the Housing Committee. Julie Schmelzer confirmed the existence of such a past ordinance to me. However, the Suicide Prevention Committee does not have such a staff person and instead is allowed to have a commissioner liaison and to take their own minutes and create their own agendas and submit them to JJ to post. I am thus asking that the Housing Committee also be allowed to have a commissioner liaison, and Commissioner Pash has offered, and for the staff seat to be transitioned into another South County at-large seat, as South County has a large population. Alternate Lauren Paulson of South County, who was initially overlooked, and I spoke about that at your December 16th meeting, could then fill that seat. There have been some mistakes at the first Housing Committee meeting. The staff person called for the election of a secretary. The staff person is to serve as secretary. The chair and vice chair were elected as a package vote, voted on together. And I asked for those attending virtually to give their first names before speaking because I have an eyesight disability for which I have received a reasonable accommodation from the county, and because Carl Popoff on speakerphone could not see. And I also asked if virtual attendees could vote verbally like those of us in person and on speakerphone, as I could not see whether they had turned off their microphones, which was how the staff person had them vote. I could not see whether their microphones were off as the screen was a blur to me. The staff person said no. Would you amend the Housing Committee ordinance, please? Would you consider that?
Processing, thank you. Commissioner Pash, I think I would defer to you. I think you've been following this. I think we all have, but probably you're a little more tuned in. What would your thoughts be on that?
Well, I thought I was already asked to be the liaison for the Housing Committee and agreed to do it, so that's why I think Ms. Rowe recognized that. As far as staff changing the ordinance, I'd like to see a new, what the new ordinance would be, brought up from the Housing Committee, having the Housing Committee do that and bring it to the board for us to review.
Okay.
I think that's the process to do that.
I'll put that on the agenda for the meeting on the 19th then.
Would that make you the secretary then, sir?
No, I would be the liaison. You don't want to see my chicken scratching, trust me.
No, under those circumstances, we would then have our own secretary.
Okay, Director Rickert, please.
Just for informational purposes, I believe the reason why there was a staff member assigned to the committee is because the county is, I think the wording was that the county has typically had a hard time keeping committees together. So the idea behind assigning a staff member was to, a staff member who is paid by the county.
A little blue.
To, exactly.
Good.
So just information purposes as we consider the amendments.
That helps, thank you.
So I'll ask the committee on the 19th. George, who is our chair, said that I could fax that to him today if you were favorable, and we could see how the committee feels about it. But it's your decision, and that's why I brought it to you first. It's not up to the Housing Committee, it's up to you.
Well, thank you for your dedicated work on that issue in that committee.
Thank you.
You're welcome. David Barnes? Did we lose him?
No, I saw
No,
him.
he's right. He's waiting for her to go.
Oh,
Chivalry.
Good morning, I'm David Barnes. I just wanted to speak briefly about this noise ordinance that you're going to talk about a little bit later on. When you first brought it up, I expressed my concerns about it and my dislike of it. I really, truly believe that an ordinance like this does nothing more than give people hammers to beat their neighbors up with. If people can't get along, they can't get along. I lived with a neighbor who was like this a long time ago, and every time I walked into my yard with a hammer in my hand, I got a visit by building and zoning the next day. And it's no way to live, people come to Curry, people live in Curry because we get left alone here, and I disagree with using the government to mediate neighborly disputes. But a couple of things that I wanted to point out about the way this ordinance is written. In section 6.12.050, the enumeration of acts in violation. If you skip down to number C, it says no barking dogs or noisy animals of any kind which disturb the comfort or repose. This means that you're not allowed to have kennels in the county anymore, dog kennels. It also means you're not allowed to raise poultry. I couldn't have a rooster in the county under this because somebody somewhere is going to be able to hear it. So you're affected, it says there's an exception for farmland, but very few people who actually raise chickens are on a farm property. My property is residential forest. It's not a farm, so I would be excluded from keeping chickens under this. Under D, it says no shouting, hooting, whistling, or singing on public streets. You got to be kidding me. You're not allowed to whistle or sing when you're walking down the street in the county somewhere? That's a little bit ridiculous to me. It says operation of mechanically powered lawn equipment. So is it in residential areas? Would this be areas that are zoned purely residential or residential / something else? I'm curious about. The next one, F, it says no, the erection, construction, demolition, or alteration or repair of any structure or site. So what this means is that in July, in your high building season, when the days are the longest, you're going to stop construction work at 5 o'clock on every house. You're talking about 3 hours of sunlight left every day for 30 or 40 days. That's 100 plus man hours that you're taking off of each job by doing this. It means that people who work till 5 o'clock like I do now all of a sudden, when I get home, I wouldn't be allowed to take on a construction project or build something in my house because this ordinance prohibits it. The same thing for number G, no operation of equipment between 5 p.m. and 8 a.m. like pile drivers, derricks, or things like that. Again, You know, the building season here is the summertime. You know, it's wet the rest of the year. You can't go out and do stuff. So I think it really puts an unnecessary burden on builders and contractors and homeowners in order to get their work done when the sun is shining and it's not raining. And number H, under exhaust brakes, the use of exhaust brakes except for emergency or to slow trucks to avoid a collision. I've driven a truck, and I've driven the roads around here, and exhaust brakes, Jake brakes, engine brakes, whatever you want to call them, are essential to having your vehicle be able to slow down coming down a hill. Brakes in a truck aren't made like brakes in a car where you step on the pedal and it's meant to stop you. That's only meant as an assist in a truck. A truck needs to be able to use exhaust brakes and engine brakes in order to maintain a slow speed coming down a hill. You know, I really think that, as I said before, I'm opposed to this on the grounds that it's a hammer for neighbors to use against each other when they can't get along. And I think you should really relook at this. You know, it says music playing at a volume which you find disturbing. As I mentioned to John yesterday, I find the Bee Gees and Barry Manilow disturbing at any volume level. So, you know, there's a little bit too much play in here for people to be able to just say, well, I'm offended by this, and call code enforcement and have code come out. And I hate to see neighbors having to do that to each other. It's a shame we all can't get along and everybody have good neighbors, but that's not the way of the world anymore. And people are going to be spiteful, people are going to be mean, and you putting yourselves in the middle of this and putting code in the middle of this, I just disagree with. Thank you.
Thank you. Barry Manilow had 20 hits back in the 70s and 80s, didn't he?
And it's still a great song, even. I hear it's like worse than nails on a chalkboard. Thank you.
Thank you. Glenn Turner, would you come up, please, to the podium? It gives me tremendous pleasure, tremendous honor to recognize you and your service to your country.
Thank you.
We've gotten to know each other the last 5 years or so, and the strength you've shown to your fellow veterans in helping them, very similar to what Bill Farrell did for many, many years. That's one thing that's tremendously noteworthy and much appreciated, and probably needs to be said. We're proud to have you in Curry County, Del Norte County both, and with your permission, I want to read this proclamation.
Go right ahead.
Thank you, sir. Curry County Commissioners honor Curry County resident Glenn Lump Turner, proud and brave Vietnam veteran, United States Army soldier. This is an article written back in 1966, the headline in the Clinton, Iowa Herald. Clinton, Iowa soldier Glenn Leon Turner, Jr. received an Air Medal with 10 oak leaf clusters, in which one was awarded with a V for valor in combat. Turner enlisted in the U.S. Army in 1964, served his basic training from July 13th through September at Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri. He underwent advanced individual training, AIT, at Fort Devens, Massachusetts, and Fort Sam Houston, Texas. He was first ordered to serve in Vietnam August 1965 through October 1966. That was just your first time.
Correct.
He distinguished himself with valorous actions during October 1965 during one operation, October 27th of 65, serving as a gunner on a helicopter, ambulance engaged in a hazardous aeromedical evacuation of 3 Army soldiers near Lang Tai. This operation returned to his 4th citation on the Air Medal and also another V for valor. The citation stated in part, the rescue helicopter approaching at treetop level to avoid as much ground fire as possible arrived in an area where a fierce battle was in progress with the Viet Cong. The pickup zone and helicopter soon came under heavy automatic and small arms fire from the surrounding tree lines and a small village located nearby. Spec Fort Turner, with courage and complete disregard for his personal safety, left the helicopter to provide cover fire for the medic and crew chief during the successful loading of 3 wounded soldiers. Upon leaving the site, the helicopter again received intense fire. Turner, of course, returned fire until well out of range of the insurgents. The citation also said his heroic actions were in keeping with the highest traditions of the military service and reflect great credit to him, his unit, and the United States Army. December 1966 found Turner again at Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri. Well, you made it back to the States for a while, didn't you?
Yeah.
With the 5th Engineering Battalion, S2 Recon Section, and with the Fort Leonard Wood Rifle Team. Turner then again was ordered to Vietnam November 1967 through the 9th Infantry Division, where he spent time training in Nha Trang for Long Range Reconnaissance Patrol, LRRP, but was ordered back to his company. Headquarters, Company 4th Battalion, 39th Infantry of the 9th Infantry Division, the day that the Tet Offensive started in January 1968. But he was sent to Beyond Howe on February 1st, the next day. That had to be unbelievably intense during that time. During his service, Turner received an air medal with 10 oak leaf clusters, which included, again, one with a V of Valor device in a December 1966 ceremony, again back at Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri. His Vietnam campaign ribbon shows a total of 7 tours in that country. I don't know anybody that's made that many tours.
2 tours.
Tours?
Yeah.
Is that a misprint? I'm sorry. We'll correct that. I don't know very many of them made double tours, though. Thank you very much. He was separated from the Army July 3rd, 1968 at Oakland Army Base, Oakland, California. Glenn "Lump" Turner qualified for his honorable discharge July of 1970. How'd you get the nickname Lump? Do you want to mention that?
I'd rather not say.
That's okay. It is your option, sir. You know, the rifle training you had, if you don't mind, just a couple questions,
Go right ahead.
and then you're encouraged to speak if you're comfortable with that. The rifle training you had, what weapons were those?
Well, the one that I qualified expert with in basic training was an M14.
Oh, yeah.
And I also trained with a 45 and a LAW, light anti-tank weapon, which is a collapsible tube that shoots a 60 millimeter high explosive projectile. But that's just some of them. My specialty, second time over, I shoot in a bolt action rifle.
308?
No, 300 Winchester mag.
308 was a sniper rifle, right?
No, 308 is a Springfield. I'm 14.
Yes?
That's a standard military issue.
Yeah.
I was shooting one with a telescopic sight on
You like the
it.
peep
Mr.
sight?
Pat?
Marksman.
You like that peep sight on the M14, huh?
I'm sorry?
Like the peep sights on the M14. I
Yes.
have one, and I use the peep sight more than I use the scope. So I have a scope on it now as well.
Well, because I'm getting old, I got scope on mine now.
Commissioner Herzog?
Oh, just thank you, sir, for your service. Thank you.
Quite well.
Did you have anything you wanted to add? Well, you
I
got
do
some
appreciate you.
You got some great friends here, Lump. You got Mike and Howard and Don and Debbie. And yes, we would like to, if you don't have anything to say right now, you're okay?
Thanks.
Do we have his picture? I hope.
Yeah.
Mike?
She got some picture.
Okay. Thank you, Debbie.
I got something I want to add.
Well, you're welcome to, Sir Mike.
Because Lump,
It's got to come to mind.
I've got an older brother, 2 years older than me, but Lump's my big brother. And he really is. From some of the stories that he's told me and confided in me, as impressive as what you read about him, I mean, there's a lot more that he did over there. I love him, man. I love him. as much as I love my own brother. And he's still sticking up for veterans, engaged in the fight. I mean, with the VA. I mean, there's problems with this clinic in Brookings not being staffed correctly. And he's engaged in that fight. It hasn't been staffed properly since 2016. I mean, I spoke up about it when they opened this clinic on November 11th, 2017, the brand new clinic, about the problems. They opened at that time without being able to meet the needs of the veterans of the community. You weren't there, Court, but your wife was.
Okay.
And she spoke up, about the duty and responsibility of caring for our veterans. And those comments really resonated with me. That problem still exists today. Lump is engaged in this with me. And so I don't know what the VA is planning on doing it. I've met with the director several times. And they are finally starting to take action as far as they're now posting all these jobs. Currently, I've been getting my care up in Roseburg since I moved to Brookings here in 2015. And I've absolutely refused anymore to go up there. It's a 320-mile round trip. Spans 2 days. I got to I got meals out of pocket. I got to file a travel claim. I got to lodge overnight. And I'm not the only veteran that's doing this. So we need to focus on that. And there's 2 other things I want to bring up because they're very important. And it's about medical screenings. One's for low-dose CT lung cancer screening. Vietnam Veterans of America 757 has been very active on this. Lump, he's really taken charge of this, and he's jumping into the emails with me and the director, the patient advocates, and everything. Low-dose CT lung cancer screening, it's available back east. It's on billboards in Chicago from the American Lung Association, everything. If you smoked, if you got a history of smoking, and there's certain criteria for that, this low-dose CT scan will save your life. Okay, it'll detect lung cancer when it's treatable, curable. But we don't have that out here. We don't even have it out here. I mean, for the general populace, it's not advertised anywhere. Lump's been in that. The Chapter 757 is published ads in the paper. I've done letters to the editor. Been trying to get this since Dave Whitmer was first here. So I don't know what can be done other than what we're doing. I mean, we're trying to bring this to the VA. It's been promised by this director, Director Allen, and it still has not materialized. So that's important. And then there's another one related to smoking. I mean, the vets, 60%. Lump say it's higher than that. 70% of the vets in Vietnam smoked, as well as being exposed to Agent Orange. These veterans need to be aware that there's abdominal aortic aneurysm screening, something else the VA is not offering to their veterans out here. And if you've ever smoked, what can happen is you can get an aneurysm in your aorta. It's a one-time screening. It's for veterans that are 65 years or older who've ever smoked, regardless of how long ago they quit. And it saves lives. I'm trying to get that done. Lump's been jumping in on this too. He is actively engaged in this with me, responding to these emails, trying to get this stuff done. And I just wish that, I don't know what the county can do as far as bringing more awareness about this.
Mike, if I may, with your permission, I'd like to take a video clip of the presentation you just made, the last 3 or 4, 5 minutes, the best thing we can do is send that clip to Molly McCarthy of Senator Wyden's office and Courtney Flathers from Senator Merkley's office. I think it would be very impactful. And when I mentioned the work that Lump and Bill Farrell do for their fellow veterans, did not mean to leave you out, because you equal them. And I haven't got an email from you lately, but you're asking what can we do? I think that's the best path we can take. The connection, you mentioned Whitmer, you mentioned Allen. I think they're trying. They've inherited a lot of roadblocks, but I think they're overcoming. So with your permission, we'll just take a clip of this video and say, here's Curry County. And I think it's safe to say you speak for a lot of people here.
Sure, go ahead. I mean,
All right.
I advocate better in writing than I do in person, but yeah.
You did great.
You
Thank
know.
you. Thank you very much.
And I would like to thank Lump again for continuing to fight for veterans here in Curry County.
Thank you, Mike.
Thanks.
Okay. Okay, we got a State of the County address. I think if,
You don't have to stick around for the rest.
Eric, if we're up.
Want to. Yep. Yep. Yeah, you all are free to go. Yep. Thank you.
No, you don't have to go. You don't have to.
We're not at the noise ordinance yet.
It is February 17th, 2021. Hi, my name is Court Boyce, Curry County, Oregon Commissioner. If I may, I'd like to give you a 2020 Curry local government perspective. As Commissioner, we represent everyone from Agnes to Langlis, Fort Orford to Pistol River, Flores Lake to Cape Perillo, Gold Beach to Sixes, Mariel to Brookings, Winchuck to Wedderburn. Of course, you'd never forget Carpenterville. 27 rural make that distinct, almost frontier precincts. First, may I talk about our Wild Rivers Coast, geographically the most western point of the entire continental western U.S. Note, our Rogue River Siskiyou National Forest is the most rugged, the most unique, the most wild, the most beautiful in North America. The Upper Elk River to Secret Beach, our Oregon Redwoods to Cape Sebastian, Otter Point to the headwaters of the Chetco River, Wild Horse Lookout to Harris Beach, Harvard Hills to Flores Lake, the Kalmiopsis Wilderness to Black Log, and certainly our mighty and most famous Rogue River. Yes, we are very fortunate to call Oregon our home and to live in the U.S. of A. Curry County and our way of life deserves to be defended. This is my 5th January as a Curry Commissioner and my first opportunity in offering a State of the County address. It is truly humbling. You could say as a loyal opposition because in my 4 years, I've always seemed to be that minority commissioner. No pretensions here. Our Curry government in 2020 honestly was terribly divided. Even in the commissioner's job description interpretation often brought disagreement. In the last 4 years, I've continually opposed inappropriate spending and the growing bureaucracy within our county government. However, 2021 can and must start a new and important era. I remain with solid resolve. Curry has so many opportunities to lead and will. Hope and help now with full-time commissioners, a much more productive board. In our fabulous southwest corner of Oregon, we have 3 very well-managed cities, 3 distinctly unique and diverse Oregon coastal ports, 4 school districts that make us all proud, 5 of the very best law enforcement agencies found anywhere, 14 of the most dedicated volunteer fire departments you'll find in our state. Our Curry healthcare is constantly improving and moving forward, not to mention our award-winning libraries and several coastal tribes well represented in our county. So looking back, Commissioner Pash and myself said goodbye to Commissioner Sue Gold and welcome new Curry Commissioner John Herzog. 2020 was quite a journey, a grueling and long marathon, when Oregonians felt the powerful impacts, experiencing the incredible collision of a highly contagious coronavirus and the worst wildfire season ever in our state's history. A most strange and difficult year, but also a time of choosing. So many hurting people in our neighborhoods. Each and every life impacted by the virus here, as told, usually either with a heartwarming or sometimes heart-wrenching, but all stories we need to hear and know. Personally, I've been inspired by the people who stood up and stepped up. We've seen our kids suffer, our schools met with setbacks, yet have carried a very diligent and positive attitude forward to overcome. Now, though, the joy and relief. School buses in our communities finally back on their routes. So much we've learned. We won't grow weary. Tragically, and in spite of our 6 Curry citizens lost, 2,100 in Oregon lost to this virus, and almost 500,000 deaths in our country. I ask for a moment of silence. Thank you. Here's one story from a local business, a reminder and wise challenge to us all.
George Rhodes, restaurant owner in Brookings, Oregon. Or the restaurant owns me, I guess, I should say. That my creditors now. Hard act to follow. And I know exactly where he's coming from, because I've been spending my days in the trenches too. And certainly the fact that the governor has made some threats recently about what would happen if the county decided to remove. That's concerning. But I've given up my freedoms now. I don't need the governor who can't get the unemployment department to send unemployment checks to my employees and try to micromanage my business. It's killing me, it's killing my staff. The first shutdown, we had 26 employees. When we opened back up, we opened up at 12 because we could only see 25% of our seating capacity. Last time we closed down, we only had 8 come back. I'm going to be running my restaurant with just myself and my wife if we ever do open back up. This is critical. And I'll leave you with one thing that Thomas Jefferson said back in the 1800s. One man with courage is a minority. If you believe that, is a majority, I'm sorry. If you believe that, then 3 men with courage is a supermajority. I encourage you to pass this resolution that's going to be before you on Wednesday. Thank you.
May I offer, from a personal perspective, one of the biggest frustrations I've had in my entire adult life has been to watch the state and federal government in the CARES relief funding make our restaurants and small business employers such a low priority, knowing they so badly need and deserve help, and through no fault of their own. Then, too, the specific funds, $600 million that back in July was specifically designed to come to our Oregon counties. In the final tally, we barely received 1/3 of that the federal government and U.S. Treasury intended. We pushed and pushed and continue to lobby and persuade, working to right this wrong. Ditto for future coronavirus relief funding that is likely coming. I'd like to tell you a story. 20 years ago, I met a very special man. Great pleasure. Andy Maurer, professional football player back in the 60s and 70s. He was a left tackle for the Minnesota Vikings. He protected the blind side of a couple of famous right-handed quarterbacks, some of whom you may recall, Fran Tarkington and Craig Morton. Andy told me in spring camp when the rookies arrived, the long find veterans quickly learn who can handle the pressure, who would team up. And the word he used, who was unflappable. I've been here almost every day for 11 months because that's what I promised. In working through these very intense times, I learned who could handle the pressure, who teamed up. I've worked with and been around a lot of unflappable, good players in action. I've seen many of our departments stand strong. It has been a privilege to be a part of it. We're looking for the finish line, the goal in this great race. What follows is authentic.
The fact that you have enough courage to do so is inspiring. And Dr. Ely, your presentation is enough evidence to move forward. I just want, I'll speak briefly as a restaurant owner, some of the challenges I'm sure everyone in here is aware of. Some of my behavioral analysis, there's one thing that I do understand a lot is behavior. That's what I did my entire adult life. And some of the challenges that we may see coming as the preliminary signs and symptoms have been coming through, but the ripple effect, it is so small right now comparative to what it will be and what it could be. So as I start, I'd like to just give a brief history because it's been such a long year. Just a brief history of what's happened and how where we are specifically in the business aspect of ones that have been shut down. So on March 12th, Oregon had its first COVID death. Tragic. March 16th, it was announced that we would be shutting down effective the next business day. Now, what does that mean for us? What does that mean for our citizens? What does that mean for the people that you know and love? It meant that the night of March 16th, we had to sit down with all of them. We had to let them go. For us in particular, it was the day before our biggest day of the year, where everybody's excited, where everybody has anticipated, built up, prepared for, and then you get told with a few hours' notice that you no longer have a job. St. Patrick's Day. And that was one of the most difficult days in my entrepreneurial career. It's not even close. It was the most difficult day. So we navigate. We're not prepared. Nobody's prepared, right? We had a few hours to prepare. So you don't have all the necessary needs to do a takeout on, all these things that are required. So we start to feel our way. But we're on board. We understand. We're believing. We need to help this process. So it was, overwhelmingly, everybody was on board. Nobody questioned anything. It was extremely, at that point, it was 2 weeks to flatten the curve. All right? So by April, we were supposed to be back in business. And that's what we told all of our staff. And April comes. It's extended another 30 days. So you have this sense of helplessness, right, that's starting to draw in on everybody. And there's nothing you can do. As elected officials, nothing we can do. As a school board member, I was extremely frustrated because our kids weren't in school. And I know how devastating that portion is to the mental well-being of our children, needing the structure and the care that some of them only receive during those hours of time at school. And we just don't have that. And I was really concerned of not only what was happening to our children, but what the fallout was going to occur from this. So we get to April, we're told in 2 weeks, May 15th. So we're in week 8 now of no business. Some takeout, but mainly no business, no paychecks, no income. Now, it's staggering, right? And we all understand that. On July 4th, the governor announced that she's going to send out her entire teams to go audit restaurants. So they audit 800 facilities. over the 4th of July time period. The busiest time in the restaurant industry in the summer, right? 9 violations of 800 restaurants. That is an incredible statistic amount of doing what we're supposed to be doing, right? So we get this information and we move forward. So we get closed down obviously again just before Thanksgiving, and then again during December. We currently are open to outdoor and night and right. So another piece of data that I'd like to share is the OHA tracks the workplace outbreaks. Right, this should be staggering. If we are an industry that has to be closed, that employs 9% of Oregonians, right? That is not a small percentage of our workforce. Out of the 75 businesses listed in the outbreak, 3, if you include fast food places, which we will, there were 5,351 counted in the outbreaks, workplace outbreaks. Of those, 27 came from restaurants. That's 0.005% of the workforce outbreaks were facilitated by restaurants over a period of time from May 15th to just before Thanksgiving, an enormous sample set where it could have been completely different. It proves that we were doing all of the work that we needed to be doing to keep each other safe and keep each other employed. I don't know, between the information that Dr. Ely gave and the information that is available to us, because the real concern that I think many of us share is that we have to go to these lengths that Dr. Ely is doing to get accurate information because it's not being provided, as evidenced by the public records advocate resigning the day before yesterday, stating undue pressure for not being able to release documents. Like, we can't even get the accurate information unless you do these extrapolating data digs like Dr. Ely just did. So, what I'd like to say is, number one, I hope you've heard every piece of information that you need to make an informed decision. And I hope that you make a decision that benefits everybody who is your constituents, right? All 23,000 constituents.
So here's an important question. Did the virus bring us closer together? You've likely heard the analogy, and it is a good reminder. This is, for our generation, a World War II type challenge. Although like that tough time in history, tremendous opportunities have and will come. May I respectfully add, I believe, because we wore masks, focused on public safety, and our people, our citizens, did everything we asked them to do. Curry has one of the lowest percent of COVID positive case rates consistently in our state, and Oregon ranks the 6th lowest in the country per capita for positive cases. Recap 2020 from one Curry commissioner's perspective. Last September in Oregon, 2,300 separate fires ignited in 9 days. 1.2 million total acres burned. The result, 4 times the amount of acreage of our 2017 Chetco Bar and 2018 Klondike fires combined. Towns disappeared. 22 deaths in Oregon and nearly 5,000 structures lost. 3/4 of those were someone's home. I'll never forget, during our September 8th, 2020 meeting, I mentioned to our board that any moment I would likely be pulled for a very important call. Coos Forest Protective Association Director Mike Robinson did call. I left the meeting and nervously stepped out into the hallway. Mike said, "Court, are you sitting down?" I said, "No, go ahead. Tell me what's going on, Mike." A big pause. He said, "Phoenix and Talent are gone."
early assessment, likely 2,200 homes lost. My heart skipped several beats. Then I asked 2 words, people lost. He said, at this moment, we believe 90% barely of miraculously got out in time. Thank you, Lord. Then I did sit down, doing my best to process, all before returning to the BOC meeting. Later, we also learned Douglas County, the community of Goliad, lost 105 homes to our south border community of Happy Camp, California, lost 150 structures. Changing gears a little bit, Curry County is working very hard with the return of our local public health. Even before COVID, we've sounded and suggested the rationale for the vision to bring public health to the forefront, a funding top priority. Certainly in 2020, we learned it is more important than ever. I believe this board agrees and will work hard toward that crucial resolve. Last month, yours truly chosen 21 chairman of the Advanced Healthcare Community Advisory Committee. 2020, how about that? Last December, Curry turned 165. Okay, maybe that's not the biggest news, but here's one. Our new Curry strategic plan of reality. Very expensive, but I hope it lives up to the causes and objectives. Our job as commissioners is to work and do our best to see that through. Curry leads. Our Curry Suicide Awareness and Prevention Committee formed. Our Curry County Emergency Housing Committee formed. These 2 groups of wonderful citizens represent people with great skills and huge hearts, as do so many of our volunteers, committees, boards, and council members. Curry, economic sanctuary work for our restaurants and small companies in supporting the Oregon State Chamber of Commerce Business Reopening Project. Curry leads. In late December, the Association of ONC Counties, AOCC, I feel my most important board, received great news. The decision of the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service to exclude all ONC lands from the 9.5 million acres previously designated by the agency as critical habitat for, yes, the northern spotted owl. This is the result AOC has been seeking for a long time, and we are pleased this agency finally agreed with us and Tim Freeman, Douglas County Commissioner and President of AOCC. This is a huge win for our 18 counties when it comes to sustainable timber harvest and a boost to consistent future county revenues from our valuable timber lands. Everyone is encouraged to remember, presently, we're harvesting only 1/3 of the actual annual growth rate of our ONC lands. Our Curry planning and building departments are very well managed and setting impressive work and permit approval records. Curry leads. We vigorously worked with the Josephine County Commissioners, Delaware County Supervisors, Oregon Department of Transportation, and the U.S. Forest Service to get our Highway 199 reopened sooner during the September Slater fire. Then remember on April 1st, 2020, personal protective equipment. We had essentially 0 masks, gloves, and hand sanitizer in stock. To date, we now have stored away 21 tall pallets. A big thanks to the Stout family and our local Focus Industries. By the way, this Curry firm is now officially Oregon's biggest PPE supplier. A special thanks to Gold Beach Calvary Church for storing these supplies. Also, to Kyle Stevens and my fellow board members of Southwestern Oregon Workforce Investment Board for their tremendous help. Curry leads. By the way, don't hesitate to contact us if you or anyone you know needs any PPE supplies. Don't be bashful. Steve Byerland, Curry Salmon and Steelhead Recovery Coordinator. Steady and good progress for our 3 road basin counties and important work on the Lost Creek Reservoir hatchery improvements and upgrades. Curry leads. Curry County, 2 consecutive years with virtually no fire. On June 4th, 2020, with the help of the Association of Oregon Counties, set up an important teleconference. People from all over the state. We put together a 70-minute discussion and plan with key firefighters, including Region 6 Forester Glenn Casamassa, who is responsible for 17 national forests in the Pacific Northwest. He greatly contributed. Curry leads. Our Brookings Head Start remodel completion. This project is a terrific benefit to our Curry citizens, especially in South County, and their families. Curry leads. The Flores Lake land swap finalized. Additional protection for a most special place on our planet. Chetco River Bridge. Tremendous homeless trash cleanup. Great jobs done by our roads, sheriff, and code enforcement departments. Curry leads. Yours truly, elected chair of the Association of Oregon Counties District 4 Southwest Oregon Committee. Curry, Jackson, Josephine, Coos, and Douglas counties. Curry leads. Dying to stay in Curry, this wonderful hospitality program offers our visitors and travelers incentives to find and enjoy our unique eateries. Curry County and the city of Brookings. Perhaps our biggest bragging point, Curry County Sheriff Deputy Sergeant Jason Dean received a National Law Enforcement Award recognized here by United States Attorney Bill Williams. Curry proud. Our Oregon Department of Transportation, a big thank you for their Highway 101 work in North and South County. Yes, milepost 312 and the famed and feared Hooskanogga properly repaired. Fabulous work, no doubt. I dare anyone to try and spell Hooskanogga. We started RESS, R-R-E-S-S, our Rogue River Estuary and Sediment Study. Through River Docs and the Oregon State University Extension, gets me on the river on occasion. My new nickname is Dr. Sonar. Certainly the credit goes to State Representative David Brock Smith. His 2019 legislation sent $486,000 to Curry for this important research, plus the work for our salmon and trout recovery. Our board passed a proclamation declaring 2021 the year of solidarity for Curry veterans, service members, and their families. Sudden Oak Death and the Gorse Action Group, invasive species eradication work, proud to serve in this very important Coos Curry combined effort. We remain relentless. Wreaths Across America honoring veterans, our courageous soldiers. All gave some gave all. It was an incredible privilege and honor to speak to vets that rainy day in December. Work with our Curry Economic Development Department and Travel Southern Oregon Coast, improved visitor promotions, and good progress. Curry leads. Our Wild Rivers Coast Forest Collaborative, the Shasta Agnes Landscape Restoration Project, approved after 4.5 years of very diligent work from my fellow WRCFC board members. Our board passed our Law Enforcement, Public Safety, and First Responders Resolution of Support. Curry leads. Proclamation is now honoring 8 different veterans to date, including World War II veteran Charles Bartlett, who turned 100 last December. All with their history, incredible sacrifices made. Our soldiers lead again. Growing in 2021, our future is bright. First, there are numerous current bills during the Oregon 2021 full legislative session that I can talk about, but here are just 3 in particular that offers good optimism for our rural county. RSR, FTC, Rogue Siskiyou Regional Fire Training Center. Slow but good and steady progress. I testified just last Tuesday via Zoom before the Oregon Veterans and Emergency Management House Committee. Representative Brock Smith's House Bill 2667. We are very encouraged as this bill would appropriate $450,000 to the State Forestry Department for distribution to our fire training center. Someday, maybe soon, we'll be training firefighters every level from all over the western United States. To date, we've already raised $140,000 in grants and pledges. Curry leads. House Bill 2654, Rural Broadband Connections. Coos Curry Electric Co-op taking a huge lead. A strong Curry County supportive role. House Bill 2435, grant writing. Due to our Curry Economic Development team, we are catching up. This bill requires the Oregon Business Development Department to distribute monies in Oregon Rural Capacity Funds to Oregon's economic development districts for purposes of assisting rural jurisdictions to apply for and administer grants. We have confidence in finding the perfect combination for a Curry grant writer and COVID recovery coordinator for our county. Last month, yours truly was appointed to the NACO, National Association of Counties, Hewlett Foundation funded Wildfire Mitigation Project Team. Curry leads. Offshore Wind Power Generation, Ocean, Oregon Coast Energy Alliance Network. I'm proud to serve on this important board where former Oregon Secretary of State Bill Bradbury also serves. Coos and Curry counties have a chance to lead the entire western United States in marine renewable and clean energy. Our Curry Anti-Violence Freedom to Assemble resolution is planned. We'll bring before the board soon. Curry leads. The future combining of all central Curry fire districts and for continued vigorous fire awareness, prevention, suppression, and recovery hopefully will evolve toward the same path for the rural fire departments in North and South counties. Our collaborative forest landscape restoration grant for our road basin counties, Curry, Josephine, and Jackson, we're slowly moving up on the list, $40 million over a 10-year period for critical fire fuels abatement. I've spent considerable time on this, and I know we will prevail in the long term. Curry leads. Doing our part to help our South Coast lumber mills with 480 employees find and compete for important timber contracts. A new Curry logo, something that has salmon, trees, rivers, mountains, and ocean combined. Looking for board approval soon. Started a renewed relationship with the Oregon Restaurant and Lodging Association. Looking forward to our third Zoom call this Thursday with Orla and other commissioners from around Oregon. The Medford Mail Tribune published a new feature story about the North American native species and the wild horse fire brigade. A reasonable number of these fabulous animals need to be returned to the deep parts of our Curry backcountry, reducing both tax burdens and volatile fire ground fuels. We're setting noise standards. Curry as a preferred, peaceful place to live, encouraging respect shown by, for, and to our neighbors. Curry leads. Curry consumption, 2% tax, 15-15 plan. Opportunity to bring in badly needed new county revenue. That will keep property taxes lower and shift a balanced and equitable burden to everyone, including our visitors and out-of-state shoppers alike. Curry leads. Our new Curry County Courthouse and Jail. Note the sheer magnitude of what it will cost, recent noteworthy repairs to the courthouse already made, and the reality of what it will take to eventually complete. Undaunted, we are moving forward and toward a valid plan. Future vaccine distributions, Curry Public Health, Curry Health Network, Curry General Hospital, Curry Medical Center, Advanced and All-Care Health, Coast and Curry Community Health, cities of Port Orford, Brookings, and Gold Beach, all coming together to serve and succeed, fully taking advantage of everything we've learned this past critical 11 months. Curry leads. Foster parenting, a major Curry County push for public awareness and volunteerism. Every child deserves a family. Our generations following are counting on it. Protecting our farmers and all citizens' water rights from potential state and federal overreach and overregulation. Curry leads. Lobbying Salem and Washington, D.C., Curry commissioners must dedicate time in working outside our county for important policies and legislation needed to aid our citizens. In August, Langless turns 140. Langless leads. One of his most famous quotes, Albert Einstein, learn from yesterday, live for today, hope for tomorrow. The important thing is never stop questioning. So we know if we don't wisely learn from the past, we'll sadly repeat it. That's not leadership, though, for the people so trusting in our good judgment. Brace yourselves with a vigorous resolve to control costs. As leaders, as commissioners, I believe our responsibility is to call out big spenders, slackers, and push back against anything that is not fully grounded in truth. Here's to a safe, secure, productive, and solid problem-solving new year. 2021 is a lucky number. God bless our first responders. God bless our teachers, fellow co-workers, and Curry employers. God bless the USA. God bless Oregon and Curry County. God bless our seniors, family, and our kids. God bless our veterans. Thank you.
Well, thank you. You know, you work real hard to try and put out something that's appropriate and good content, and the fear you have is overlooking someone or something, and I'm sure that we did. However, I did forget a couple things about 2020, and then we're going to take a quick break here. Thank you, Commissioner. The 2020 elections, Renee Cullen, 30 years, she got an unheard of 72% of the vote. She, Deputy Clerk Denny, their staff, run a very clean and professional program. We reluctantly said goodbye to Curry Treasurer Debbie Crumley, but we pulled Citizen Barnes out of retirement. We're glad to have him here. Sheriff Ward, Assessor Cullen, and myself ran unopposed. I think I can speak for them that we are all three grateful to be able to serve another 4 years, although I have about 26 years to try and catch either one of them, because they're pushing, or in addition to a 30-year time of public service. So I'm starting my 5th year, Commissioner Pasch's 3rd year, and Commissioner Herzog is 3rd month, right? Glad to have you here. So that's all I have. We do have, I want to make an apology real quickly here to Mary Rowe. We had 3 public citizens to comment, and we always try and let Mary go first. And as chairman, I overlooked that, and I see she's back here, and she would like to make a comment.
Thank you.
Ms. Rowe, again, my apologies. We won't let that happen again.
Thank you. Chair Boyce, I'm sorry, I'm a little sick right now. Yes, I do have a standing ADA accommodation to be the first person giving a public comment, unless there's also somebody who's, sick or has a great need, who would also need to be accommodated that way. There were 2 people who called before me, and I thought, well, maybe the first person had some sort of health issue. So I went out to get some air, but then, of course, David Barnes was called, and I was called because he wasn't available. So between that and your comment about the microphone, which is another standing ADA request, and lately, I got to tell you, I'm sorry, this thing is making me nervous, because I don't know if I can come in right under 3 minutes, but could you please turn it off, and I'll try to be very, very brief. Could you possibly do that? Thank you. I can't think real well right now. I'm real sick. During the past couple weeks, since I was appointed to the Housing Committee, I've been experiencing some ADA violations. I told you about 2 of them today from a staff person. I could not see the virtual people on the screen, and I asked if they could please give their first name, which is standard procedure at such a meeting. And the staff person said no. And so I didn't know who was speaking. I guess that wasn't that big of a deal. But when I couldn't even tell who was voting because they didn't, I asked if they could please voice their vote like those people in person and Carl Popoff on the speakerphone were doing, and the staff person said no. The staff person was looking at whether the staff person told them to turn off their microphones if they wanted to vote for someone for chair. there was no way I could see that, and I said I couldn't see the screen. There have been other problems as well, and I feel like the county has taken a hard line against me trying to assert my rights under the ADA. I've lost my temper a couple times and said I'll take legal action, because at a certain point, the anger and depression and feeling like you're not even a person is so overwhelming that you can't stand it when your rights are continually denied and you have no voice or personhood. And so what I'd like to say to you, thank you for your apology, Commissioner Boyce. What I'd like to say is, as I understand it from former Director Schmelzer, about a year ago there was supposed to be an ADA training here that I don't think occurred, from what I've been told. And about 2 years ago, I approached Commissioner Gold, and I told her that I thought that there should be some recommendations regarding county government and the county as a whole made regarding the ADA, and I asked her if she'd be willing to put on the agenda for there to be a committee to look into the matter of ADA rights. And County Clerk Renee Colon volunteered when I spoke to her to be on that committee, and Sue Gold, I don't think she was real thrilled. I shouldn't perhaps interpret, her thoughts, but she did agree to be part of that, and I was going to volunteer, and I asked Anna Weinmiller, who suffers from quadriplegia and works with people who are experiencing disabilities, and she said she would be on the committee. So that never happened because there were other emergencies, but the time has come. The time is long overdue with this county government for there to be some ADA training, some education. And please, not just from the standpoint of what do we have to do to not get in trouble, but from the standpoint of what is the right thing to do to include people who are experiencing disabilities. And thus, I would hope that you would have perhaps a couple of different trainings from different organizations so that the latter could be represented, that being what is the right thing to do, rather than just how to protect yourselves, not getting in trouble. So I'm asking you to please do some kind of training, because what I've been experiencing lately is more than I can bear. And I've seen other incidences of discrimination against other people at this county, by this county government. And people who are experiencing disabilities are a protected class. It is illegal to discriminate against us. And I think Renee Colon has something to say, and thank you.
Thank you, Mary.
Renee Colon, County Clerk for the record. I just want to let you know that I agree. I don't know if we've had our ADA training or if we're doing it annually, but I would hope that the Board of Commissioners would support that training sooner than later. And if you need any help or if you want to put a committee together, I'm willing to serve.
Well, thank you. And I think I can speak for everybody here. No deliberate discrimination intended whatsoever. I think I can also safely speak for everyone that they care very much about Mary and appreciate her contributions. I'm here on weekends, and I look forward to her phone calls because they're very productive and very helpful. And again, Mary, I apologize, and I am all for the county leading and having a better understanding. And as she kindly suggested, not just so we can figure out how to comply, but to understand, which that in itself is a very critical and important reminder. Thank you.
And thank you for, hopefully that will make that happen soon.
Thank you. I have just one more thing before break. Just last year on the State of the County, I want everybody to know the State of the County was 47 minutes long. I never left my seat out of respect for Commissioner Pash. So for what that's worth, we all do our best, and I just want the records to show that. Thank you. I never left my seat for 47 minutes. Let's have everybody come back here at 10:34, please. February 17, 2021, Curry County Board of Commissioners business session. We're on the agenda item number 6. We have 2 items. 6B would now be A, in-stream water rights. 6B, now C, or C, now B, would be FTE full-time equivalency, status change of an employee. Any changes to that, Commissioners?
I make a motion to approve.
Second?
Moved and seconded. Discussion? Roll call, please. Staff Jesuit.
Commissioner Pash.
Aye.
Vice Chair Herzog.
Yes.
Chair Boyce.
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously.
Agenda item number 7A, approve a resolution to purchase SAR search and rescue equipment, one snowcat using Title III funds. Sheriff Ward. He's been here patient the whole time.
Right?
He left. I heard him say goodbye.
Well, can I add? He went to grab
Of course you can add.
some information regarding that he had not had, so he'll be back. So if we could come back to that?
I think we just want to, why don't we do that? That's a good idea, Commissioner. Let's do item 7B, letter in support of maintaining current funding, Oregon's SBDC Small Business Development Center. We probably caught Development Coordinator Madison off guard. Commissioner Pash, what if we went to 7D real quick? Board meeting recording of minutes?
That's fine with me.
Either that or we got to pause for a few minutes.
No, we can do that. It'll only take a few minutes, I think, anyway.
7D.
It's basically, I wanted to discuss the way we record our minutes, as you know, Commissioner, or Chair Boyce, that over the last couple of years, we've made some changes with the way that JJ does our minutes now. He doesn't have to do the full, it's more of an abbreviated notes, but we are bound by law to have minutes. Council Huddle and I found an issue on on an audio that was missing from this recorder right here. And it's been an issue that there's been several times I've heard that things have not been recorded. The recorder wasn't turned on time. It wasn't turned off. If you don't save it before you turn it off, it gets lost, so that when you restart the recorder, that meeting before is completely gone. And I know we do a video, but I think, we also always want to go back and be able to hear meetings, so it's nice to have the audio. The system that we have, I think, is kind of archaic in having this kind of a device here. So I reached out to some companies just to find out what it would cost, and again, it's a plethora of numbers from $6,000 or $7,000 up to $40,000 on getting a recording device to professionally record board meetings. Most of the people that I spoke to use a company called For the Record, and they are a company that the courts and judges use across a lot of Oregon, or actually across the nation. It's a very widely used, a lot of boards actually use it as well. It's basically a system that it could be used or run right through our computer. It goes directly into the computer. I've looked into it. It has a perpetual license fee, so you don't have that annual license fee once you pay for their license. It's good forever. It even has support, everything involved with it. And it's basically like the Port Orford meetings, the gooseneck. That's the exact same program. It's the gooseneck microphones that have the on-off button right in front of them. You can mute. We would have one on the speaker stand as well, one for everyone sitting in this office. And then all of it is recorded. We can also have it sent to the cloud, which I still am not sure what a cloud is, but my daughter keeps telling me. But we could even have it, have that done as well. It would be a professional way to do it, and it would sure solve, in my opinion, a lot of problems for us, in that we're always wondering, are our mics on? Are they off? I don't know how many, almost weekly, Eric runs in here and somebody's left their mic off, or he can't hear. He's always adjusting. Where this would be something that once it's set, it's set. And again, you have your mute on-off button for your mic. And it would certainly solve the issues for the microphone at the podium. we would also have it set up that those two microphones are wireless. And they would, if we were having a budget meeting, we could set those microphones on that budget meeting table. So anyone at that table of the four, if you set one between, each two, they speak, and it's all clearly recorded, and we don't have to worry about it anymore. The county's protected, and we have full transparency with our recordings that, we can produce them easily if needed. And I think it would even make Staff Jesuits' life a little easier because the program, it records a voice sound line underneath it. And if JJ wants to say, okay, Chair Boyce started discussing this, all he has to do is click on that sound line as Chair Boyce or one of us start to speak, and he can make his note right on that sound line. This is where Commissioner Herzog started talking about this topic, or this is a different point that was made, and he can make those right on the sound line so that as the minutes come out, you can literally see right on the audio line. It doesn't produce a video, it produces an audio line. And you can see all the notes right on that audio line very clearly and quickly. So it's just something that I looked into because I know the constant problems we're having with this, and we lost some data last week that greatly concerned me, and I just think we need to fix that. That needs to be, we need to have minutes when we need them, and this was something that was lost, that it was an accident that it was lost, but we have no minutes of that now.
Well, we can make minutes, actually.
Right, but we have to go back to, we don't have concise minutes from a recording.
You don't have a recording.
It would have to be, just what we remember.
Yeah.
And so it's concerning to me. This program, just so the board knows, it's a company called For the Record, and this would be their Gold Suite, perpetual licensing, support, a mixer to run the program, 8 microphones, the cables and everything to run the microphone, the entire program, which would be a one-time fee of $6,800. They originally came in at $7,500, and I asked them to sharpen their pencil a little bit, and this morning they sent me a new bid of $6,800 to put everything in and done. And I think it would make everyone's job a little easier here and a lot less concerned.
Commissioner Herzog?
Oh, how old is this archaic system that we have? Do we know? JJ?
I think it's about 4 years old, actually.
And up till last week, we've lost audio before, or?
I'm not aware of any other than...
I was just going to ask if I may. I thought I heard Commissioner Pash say several times, Staff Jesuit, do you know of any other minutes that we've lost or recordings?
Well, during an executive session, I'm not taking minutes. And I think Commissioner Pash is speaking about executive session recordings versus business meeting recordings and workshop recordings.
Yeah, I'm only aware of a single incident.
That's why I ask. Of the 4 years I've been here, I've not seen us lose any other recording. I think it would be very important to go back and try and collectively produce or reproduce those minutes because we did have that accident. The only other thing I have, I'm looking at the 10/21 meeting minutes, October of 2020, and I thought the board said they wanted word for word on the description of those minutes, so that's always been something I've been opposed to for the reasons you're defining. I'm not for, after we just found out that we're $1 million down in our budget on the 4th, I'm not for spending anything right now or authorizing any spending. I think we can perfect what we have. When we are in a better financial position, I think you've done some good research, Commissioner Pash, and I think it would be legitimate to look at. But as far as spending $7,000 right now, no. Council Huddle? That's just my view.
Sure. Well, we went over the budget recently, and we saw we have PEG funds, and the funds to use capital to produce our meetings and record them and make them available for broadcast. So for equipment can be paid out of PEG funds, which is restricted. So I don't want you to be too concerned about the spending part of it. Just, you know, I think, I think usually you look at, and I know Commissioner Pash is very diligent, does due diligence, but I mean, how you want to determine to spend those funds is up to you.
PEG,
Go ahead, Commissioner
PEG
Herzog.
funds.
PEG is,
Public education government?
yep, and it's tacked on, it's a fee that's tacked on to our cable, to people who have cable, to their cable bills. It's a little, and then we get it to be able to produce these meetings for cable.
And we,
And that's kind of a secret fund there, so, we don't
not a
highlight it
secret.
too
It's-
much, but that's
it's
good to
in
know.
our-
And I did not know that it would come out of PEG funds.
It could.
That does put a different outlook for me.
Yeah.
Thank you, Commissioner Pash.
Well, and if I understand correctly, if we don't use the PEG funds, we lose them.
Is it 3 years?
It's not a use it or lose it, but what happens is when we renegotiate the franchise, the cable company looks at it and says, do you really need all this? And it becomes a point of negotiation in the renewals.
But what I'd like to finish with is, this is something that I think is a security thing for the county. And I will ask everyone sitting here, and then Commissioner Herzog, you haven't been here that long, but anyone that's been here for, let's say, more than a year, how many times have you heard, I didn't turn the recorder on, is the recorder on, it's not working, all those things, and it happens almost weekly, that either the recorder wasn't turned on properly in time and we have to start over, or we've lost a few minutes because we've gone a little too far to really start over. This would solve all those problems. And again, PEG funds are going to pay for this. It's not something that we're going to lose out of our budget. So it's I think, a nice way to tidy up a part of our county's government that all other counties, well, most counties that I've ever seen, including some of the cities like even Port Orford has something almost just like this. Why Curry County doesn't have a more modern accountable system that we don't have all these glitches with is a concern for me, and I would hope this board would at least look to replace the system, not necessarily to go with the one that I've chosen, but at least look to upgrade the system to the modern system that, and as far as I'm concerned, if judges and courts are willing to use this program, that's good enough for me.
Coordinator Madison, may I ask you, we moved you ahead of the sheriff, and thanks for coming down from your office.
Oh, you did?
Don't hold
you
that
moved me
against
ahead
him.
of the sheriff?
Well, I'm going to ask, how much time do you need for the SBDC?
Honestly, I would have wanted to put it on consent agenda, but
Okay.
I really wanted to bring some awareness. I just wanted to mention really quick for the record, that is actually the equipment and programming that we used prior to the new programming that we have currently. And for the record, was very efficient. I don't recall any concerns and faults with that programming. Shell Megson is quite technical, and she would be a great resource to share in how that made it super easy for her to manage the meetings. What I feel is inefficient is the use of staff that are not allocated to those purposes from other budgets. It's not transparent in spending, and so I think if you have PEG dollars to help make that process more efficient, I would encourage that. We probably still have
I was going to say, is it in storage somewhere?
I was going to say, the antiquated equipment's probably somewhere and might be worth a lot on eBay
I
or
won't ask
something.
you why it got changed, but I have a little bit of a suspicion. Not important.
The other thing to consider too is as there's a movement away from charter-type services, we may see a decline in PEG funds that come available to us in the long run. So maybe some planning for that as well.
Spend it while you got it.
So would you pull your
Beacon
microphone?
Broadband's going to put them out of business? Oh,
I hope so.
Why don't you pull your microphone down a little bit, and let's go ahead and go to your agenda item, please.
wait,
Can we finish with this?
don't we need to finish the...
Okay. I'd like to, will you mind staying just a little bit longer?
Sure.
Okay. Go ahead, Commissioner Pash.
Well, I just, again, this is a proven program that I think would be a good fit for here, as it I guess was, but this is a more modern version of it, I guess, and I just think for the amount of mistakes that get made, and accidental or not, we need to make sure that we are fully transparent and make sure that all of our meetings are recorded as required by law.
Clerk Colin, you're welcome to come up.
I was Renee Colon, County Clerk for the record. I was listening to what you were talking about, so I might not have the whole concept, but I agree. If you're going to change your minute-taking application, by law, your minutes, of course, are filed in our office, so I'd hope that you would work with our office, and maybe we can work with some of the other county commissioners and the clerk's office and find out what applications they're using, what works best, and then make a selected choice of what you would like if you go that route. I'd be willing to help.
Thank you again.
Okay.
Commissioner Herzog?
What are the timelines of the PEG funds? Do we have to use them before a certain date, or?
No.
2020, 2021?
Nope.
Okay. Or research, you've researched.
This is an action item, but we can table it if you like, if the board agrees. I mean, if the PEG funds are going to be valuable, if the PEG funds are going to be valuable down the road, so that's, I think we can perfect what we have now, but we are growing, we are amending as we move forward. I'm really 50-50 on this. If it's $6,800 is a solid bid, they do all the setup, there isn't going to be delays for our meetings. I think it might be hard for me to oppose this. I don't know what our PEG fund balance is right now. I don't know of any other demands on that fund in the near future. Director Rickert, do you have anything you want to add?
No, I don't. I can look at to see what PEG funds are, what future demands might be. Miranda did mention that we have a server in there that may need to be replaced. I can look into that more if I need to.
So do you want more time?
We have a server in the AV room, I don't know what we call it,
Okay.
that may need to be replaced. That my guess is that would come out of PEG funds.
In Eric's, in the video room?
Yes. Yeah.
And there is some big needs. Actually, there is some big needs in there.
If I could, last time we did one of these things, it was a video camera system where, and now we're finding that we have issues with that. I think a comprehensive approach to this, where you measure twice, cut once, and I know, again, Commissioner Pash has done his due diligence, but at the same time, and also a lot of times they say show, don't tell. Maybe it'd be nice to have this company come in and do a demo so everyone can see what.
They won't do that.
They won't do a demo, but maybe other companies will. I think competition's good in general, and I think you've heard from the clerk saying coordinate with her. So I think having more eyes on this and, taking the time to do it right, there's no hurry to spend. It's a limited issue as far as, the record being made and kept. So again, it's up to the board, of course.
Well, Commissioner Herzog, I'm sensing you would like a little more time. I'm going to agree with that, if I'm interpreting correctly. And we have Director Ricker's going to look into the balance. Go ahead.
Well, so I think that recording and video should be one company, in my estimate. It's not, though, okay? But it could be?
I don't know.
So maybe if Eric, can you hear us, Eric? Can you come and speak to that, maybe? If there's issues with the recording or the video recording portion right now with servers, we know there's a glitch in the audio.
If I may?
Yeah.
For the record, Eric Feliciano. So from what I understand, I would have to look into this hardware more. I'm guessing it has some kind of cloud or computer-based recording that is like an automatic.
What they do is they give you a mixer and interface that right into our recording device, our computer, and they also have a cloud storage if you want that.
Gotcha.
And then it's just the microphone hookups to it. Like I said, the two that would be out there on the floor would be wireless, but everything else is a hardwire cable system directly into the mixer.
Okay. So from what I understand, it sounds like it'd pretty much be like a one-for-one replacement of the software, of the equipment we're using now. As far as the recording goes, I think the issues are that you have the open sessions and the closed sessions. Where the open sessions, we're always recording on our end. The video does have the audio also recorded, so if we ever did need to pull audio from that, we could do that. But we don't record the executive sessions, so that's something that's handled in the room. So by using that software, it would just be, from what I understand, keeping the recording going from the start of the meeting to the end of the meeting, right? We could basically achieve the same thing with any type of recording interface that could connect to either a dedicated computer in the room. We could have a computer in this room that would just be recording on its own. And that could be done with the current equipment that we have. Basically, we're using this handheld recording device in lieu of something that would be connected directly to a computer. So nobody's actually monitoring it during the meetings. You hit record once, and then at the end you have to hit record again. Otherwise, the files can get corrupted. Is that right, JJ?
As I understand the task cam, it needs to be turned off in order to save it to the SD disk.
Right. And yeah, in regards to that, I mean, I've experienced that same issue because I use the Tascam devices as well. You can actually recover that information, but you have to go through some kind of script process on Windows.
Go ahead, Commissioner Pash.
I asked Phil Dixon because there was the executive session that I'm speaking of right now that was lost, that I needed this information from. We called Phil Dixon in from IT, and he gave us a program to do that, and it wasn't there. And he said if it doesn't show up, then you cannot recover it. It may have never been recorded, is what he's saying, is the start button to it may never have been pushed to start the recording, much less that it was stopped and or turned off at the wrong time. So, again, I'm not saying, I will reiterate to the board, I'm not saying that we should use for the record. What I'm saying is we need to do something, because when somebody, if there's a vital part of a meeting that we need and it's not there, I think that's wrong. And there was a meeting that is completely not there from just a few weeks ago.
So, if I may, one time in 4 years is not
we don't know that it's one time in 4 years, Commissioner.
Okay, so I'm not sure that any system is going to guarantee 100%. So, you heard Council Huddle very wisely say, measure twice, cut once. I need more time. I'd like to give you and Miranda an opportunity to offer comments on how we might proceed and connect this all. I'm not opposed to Commissioner Pash, but I'm asking the board just to give us more time on this.
Absolutely. Like I said, I just think it's something, Chair, that we need to fix, that's all.
Yeah.
Okay, so go ahead.
Just real quick, I just think that in this day and age that video and audio should be one, so.
Synced up.
You think?
Yeah, okay. So, go ahead.
Yeah, I think basically the main issue with that is that there's things that are to be recorded in the meetings that are sensitive, where it's only, for the few of you. So it would have to be something that you could, I think that's the idea of this recorder, is that anyone that is in the room can hit record and stop it. But finding something that is more consistent, easier to operate, and easier to determine whether it is recording or not is definitely something that should be looked into. But to do video and audio at the same time would pretty much mean that someone like myself, an operator, would be listening in and viewing the private meetings, or the closed sessions, which, as far as I understand, it's illegal, right? So.
Well, I don't know.
Okay, Eric, thank you again very much for that help. We have Sheriff Ward, we have Clerk Cullen, we have Coordinator Madison, we have Veteran Service Officer Vowdy. So I'm going to...
Parks.
Huh?
And Parks.
We got Parks backed up. So, Summer, why don't you come up and that I think some of these people want to get back to work. Go ahead.
So can I just ask, what are we doing with it? Because we didn't decide what we're doing with this. Are we going to put it
Didn't
off
we
for
have
2 weeks?
consensus that we're going to put it off for 2 weeks?
Okay, 2 weeks. I didn't hear 2 weeks, so, okay.
Thank you.
Till the next meeting, and
Come on up, Coordinator Madison, please.
I'm sorry, I might not have heard you. Didn't mean to interrupt you.
That's
I just
okay.
wanted to make sure.
It's okay.
I think Sheriff's on the agenda before me.
You want to
unless-
go and come back? He's been here all morning, actually.
Yeah, I would like for him
Okay,
to
that's fine.
be able to go and,
So we're going to go back to,
thank you so much.
we only missed you for 2 minutes, Sheriff. Back to 7A.
Good morning, Commissioners. Sheriff Ward, Curry County Sheriff's Office. Today, as you know, we talked about in our last budget presentation that recently we had a search up on Wild Horse where 4 people were lost. We were able to get to the first 2 that were in the vehicle that was stuck in the snow. They've been there overnight. The father tried to get up there looking for them. He got stuck in the snow and had to walk 4 miles out, and he never was able to find them. We used the equipment that we had it took us a long time to get up to where actually the vehicle was, and then 2 of the subjects that were still there, we were able to give a ride to them out. One of them was severely disabled, which caused issues in itself, and it could have been a lot worse. But 2 of the other ones decided they were going to try to hike out, and they would towards Wild Horse, and would have had to go like about 15 miles in the snow up to their crotch deep, and in the inclement weather, it wasn't a good scenario. So our side-by-side that we used was not sufficient to continue on after they did the initial rescue of the first 2. So I needed specialized equipment that would allow us to get into deeper snow and travel a lot further and a lot faster. So I did call Josephine County to see if we could borrow a snowcat and operator. They were unavailable. Called Jackson County. They had 2 cats. Both cats were unavailable, searching for 8 people in the snow. So I called Tucker Snowcat and said I need a snowcat ASAP. They had a demo they sent over to help with the search. I ordered a snowcat in the meantime during that search to help find the other 2 people. And I had talked a little bit about the conditions last time in that budget committee, and you guys were pretty favorable of what we did. The main issue is Title III funds. How are we going to purchase a snowcat? Well, the past 6 years, I've been talking to a Tucker Snowcat and other sheriffs, and we talked about how do you purchase when the county has no money, really. Well, there is a Title III funds. Title III funds, you really have to be a lawyer to figure out the substance of it all. And I'm probably been here 30 years, and I probably know more about Title III than most every here except for county council here. And we're both struggling a little bit about it too. But I'm pretty confident that I've followed all the rules and regulations, and I know there was a form put out to the county by the county commissioner, I think it's Court, about projects for Title III funds. There was Firewise and Search and Rescue. Title III funds can only be used for certain issues. It's not money that goes into the general fund whatsoever. It goes into reimbursement for safe, and I'm going to talk about search and rescue, but because I don't know a lot about Firewise, maybe the court does, as far as who gets money. But there was a form that was put out. We asked for $500,000 out of the Title III funds to designate for search and rescue. We were granted that. We used maybe $50,000 3 years ago when the Higgins search up on top of Bear Camp. And because we didn't have the proper equipment, we had 200 plus volunteers show up, and it was cold, snowing, wet. We ended up having to buy a couple tents with some heaters in them so people can get in and out of the weather. We didn't have enough radios, mobile repeaters, anything to be able to communicate down in the deep Shasta Coast drainage. We were able to buy all that. So I'm no stranger to using Title III funds. It's just a process. How do we go about getting those funds? They were very restrictive. I'm not talking about Title II funds. I'm talking strictly Title III funds. Title II has a lot to do with what they call RAC, and that's has to do with a lot of BLM monies. We don't have a lot of BLM monies in our county, so we're just dealing with Title III. There's 3 different phases of Title III that I understand. What we're going to be talking about is what we can and what we can't use. There for a while, there was a lot of restrictions on using Title III money for anything. You could only use it for us, and like I said, I'm not talking about Firewise. If we have an active search on federal lands, we can use Title III funds to purchase equipment while during that search. Not afterwards, not before, not for training, but that was all updated in May of 2018. That kind of took away some of the restrictions and eased up on the restrictions. And some of those restrictions that were eased up was to reimburse the participating county for search and rescue and other emergency services, including firefighting and law enforcement patrols. And let me get my glasses, it's a little harder to hear. And it says, I know Commissioner Herzog, you were questioning about the Title III funds. What search and rescue and other emergency services, including firefighting and law enforcement, may be reimbursed using Title III funds? Under PL 115-141, Section 302A, provides that Title III funds may be used in the reimburse the counties for search and rescue and other emergency response activities, including firefighting, law enforcement patrols performing on national forest lands and specific to BLM lands in Western Oregon and paid for by the county. Specifically, with the changes made by the PLS 115-141, the following expenses paid by the county may be reimbursed in proportion to the amount attributed to these emergencies response services performed on national forests and specific BLM lands. And there's a list of them, and I can tell you what is acceptable is to purchase capital equipment such as purchase a fire engine, search and rescue machine, snow machines, or other emergency responses equipment. And there's a whole list of stuff here, but I did talk to Rocky McVeigh after this. I ordered the snowcat. He says, it looks like you did everything okay. It doesn't look like there's going to be issues. The only one we talked about was making public notification. Well, I did that already. I did that in a press release, and I said that we went up and we did a search on public lands, and it was an active search, and we were going to purchase a snowcat for that. I also put it on social media, and I can pull up my social media account and tell you I had 55 comments on it, not one negative. All of them were, great job, you need that equipment, what can we do to support you to buy the snowcat? Because it would have took a 10-hour ordeal that we did up there and turned it into like a 2-hour ordeal, a lot safer. We don't have, and like I told you, I tried to borrow one from Jackson and Josephine County, but they weren't unavailable. In order to get them over here, it would have been like a 4 to 6 hour process to get that snowcat here and up where we belong, or where we were searching. There's no other snowcats on the coastal area. I do know by talking to other counties that they would love to be able to have access to one. Curry County could be the one who has that. We can go to Del Norte County, we can go to Coos County, or we can go anywhere really. But the main thing we're probably gonna use it for is up on Bear Camp. Bear Camp has snow on it, and probably 3-4 months out of the year, and there's always been issues up there. People getting stuck in the snow. I've been up on several recoveries myself, even on the one that didn't even know the person was there. He had been missing a long time. He was in his camper, and he sit there and froze to death up on top. We've had Josephine County use their snowcat to come from their side over into our side, probably within a mile of the snow line, to find people that we could have found a lot sooner. And I always ask myself, what is the cost of one life? You know, buying something like this, all I had to do in the last 6 years is take one of those rescues, somebody stuck in the snow, and use that. But did I? No. I don't want to be able to, you know, just take a four-wheel drive, go up and find somebody in the snow and get them out and say, hey, we need a snowcat. That's not what this is all about. This is shows that we are lacking in our response equipment. A side-by-side that has just added tracks on it, it does okay for, you know, snow that's not very deep, but when it starts pushing snow, it really struggles. It has no heat in it, has no doors on it, and when we found the first two, they were cold. To get them out, it took about an hour to get them back down to where they get their rides. They were freezing by the time of the deputies. They were froze, wet, cold. The snowcat has a cab on it that has a heater in it, and put 5 people in it, and it can travel a lot faster. And I went up and demoed it myself. It's amazing what this equipment will do. Up on top of Wild Horse, there was a lot of trees down. I pulled up to one, and the instructor says, I said, well, we're going to have to wait to get somebody up here with a chainsaw. And he goes, build a bridge. So it has a plow on it. I backed up, shoved snow up against this tree, drove right over top of it, and kept going. Now, that is crucial for us to be able to get to where we need to go in a lot less time. Just trust me when I say that we've done everything that we need to do to use Title III funds on this purchase. We're within the guidelines, within the laws they're using it, and there's no issues that I can see that would forbid us to do that. Like I said, I've been doing this for a long time, and I'm not going to just go buy one just because we're going to need one when other equipment can work. Well, it's proven that we really need this type of equipment, not only for the safety and recovery or people that we're looking for, but the searchers, our SAR members who go up and it's the safety of them and being able to be comfortable and do what they need to do. So without any other questions, I did do a resolution. Part of the thing I talked to Rocky McVeigh on, he says, well, probably just need to get the board to sign off on that and through adopting a resolution. So I did put one together. You have that in front of you.
Questions?
Does the board have that in front of you? I was looking in the online agenda packet, and we have a AGRS, and I know, Sheriff, you had sent this to me for review, and I agree with you. It covers most of the bases, but
well, I did send it to JJ and said to disperse it.
Instructions were to wait for council huddle.
Okay. Would you like me to read my resolution that I drafted?
Let's do questions first, if we may. Commissioner Herzog.
What I'd like to do, Sheriff, because the resolution was accompanied by newspaper articles, the description of the vehicle. If I could just take a brief recess, I'll go print out the materials for the board to have at their fingertips so they can consider this item.
I need you to stay right there for just a minute, though. We'll
Okay.
do questions so we get on the same page here. Did you have any questions?
John answered all my questions as far as Title III funds, and I'm good.
Sheriff, I got a couple, if I may. First of all, thanks for getting here early and staying through the morning. Much appreciated. You say Coos County doesn't have one, and Curry County being centrally located between Del Norte and Coos County could be to our advantage, and then subsequently the public's advantage, it sounds like.
Absolutely. It doesn't need to just be, it could go to Tillamook County. It could go anywhere along the coast. And if Jackson County or Josephine County needed because their cat is, say, over in Wilderville or whatever looking for something, and they have an issue on their side, and they ask for, like, when the Kim family search, we could get there very quickly and help them out. It's a universal machine that could be used for other counties as well. And not only that, we talked about where would we store it. Well, I haven't talked to Rich Christensen, but I'm pretty sure that we can store it out the road department under a covered area, and they would be able to use it to get to all our towers. The towers, they get snowed in and that need maintenance quite often. They'd be able to get up there using that equipment as well.
You said you had really good response on your social media.
I did.
Not one negative. So the public, at least that follow social media, you're very confident that very strong support. Is that fair to say?
Absolutely. I can read you some of the comments if you like.
That's okay. It sounds like you've got a storage issue, not an issue, but a solution there. Every other year, we get somebody stuck in the snow. Is it every 5 years? You've been here a long time.
Every year.
Every year you get somebody stuck in the snow. So this would, that's the rugged part of Curry County. That's why our towers are so numerous compared to a lot of other counties of similar size, because of the tremendous rugged terrain. So you're saying every year?
In fact, when we had this search here, when we were all done, when we had another call out for a search of a man and his 3-year-old daughter up the wind chuck that were stuck in the snow. So it happens. People, they see in the foothills there's white up there, and they go, well, let's go play in the snow. And they try to go one place. They said, we're going up to Ksania Creek. Well, they don't stick to unfortunately, to their plans, and they go someplace else, and then get lost. Nobody knows where they are, so STAR has to go out and deal.
Mr. Chair, listen, I'm going to go and print those materials for the board.
Okay.
I'll tell you, this is my packet. I also, you want this one, John?
I think he's got it, John. He's got to just print it.
Well, that one doesn't have a copy of the CAD, which it really doesn't need to be in there, but it shows from the start to the time of the beginning to the end. And it also shows where we called Josephine, Jackson County, and Tucker, and they were sending snow. I mean, it's all documented. So there's no question about, because, let me back up a little bit. When talking to Rocky McVeigh, he says it would be very rare to get audited by the Title III fund people if you got the documentation. We have plenty of documentation, and so there's no worries. I'm not worried about it one bit. He says out of the years that he's been there, he says he thinks there's been 3 audits, but they were by Title III, but they were turned out to be okay, I guess. I don't know. Not for us, but he's not worried about it. I'm not worried about it, because there's no question in my mind.
Commissioner Pash?
I would not put the county in a peril or predicament to say, hey, we screwed up. Not going to do that.
I think for us, this is one of those decisions that we make that we can hopefully one day be glad we made. Because you never need this snowcat until you do.
Yeah.
And what if it's your son, your grandchild that's up there on that mountain lost? But a bigger point to that is our job, yes, first job is to protect the public. But we also have a duty to protect law enforcement, the first responders. And I see much more use of this, even, joining searches. If Josephine's got their cat out looking, you can go join with them and expedite the whole process. I mean, it could be used in so many ways, and I'm fully confident that you'll find good use for it, Sheriff. And I would hate to be sitting here 2 or 3 years from now with a loss of a family saying, well, we could have done that, and we didn't do anything about it. And the sheriff sending deputies out on a quad that can roll over easy. This is a much more wider, stable track. It can it can take hills that, I've been in many snowcats in my life in ski areas. They're amazing what they can do, and the safety for his deputies and getting people out, as the sheriff stated, to get them warm right away in hypothermic conditions and all that. It's a win-win as far as I'm concerned.
Mr. Herzog?
Well, I'm in agreement, and I think even Chris has shared a story with me about when they first came into this area, that he almost got stuck on Bear Camp.
Yep.
Same with that family you mentioned, John, that, you know, there was a time when if you got on Google Maps or whatever, it would send you over to the valley that way.
It still does.
That's what it did to us.
And,
Bonnie and I, we went on it.
They were in a Lincoln Continental, I think, and barely made it. So now that I know more about how Title III works, I'm good with it. So I'm in favor.
So the sheriff's saying that it's complex, in general sense. That's an understatement. Question, was it 2018, didn't we put 500,000 from the Title III funds into your account?
Yes.
Okay, so I want the public to know that that was 2 or 3 years ago, and so it's not like this money's been burning a hole in your pocket. So I appreciate being able to kind of be able to say that and almost disclaim that. Something bothers me, though, on voting today, and that is this just got put in front of me. And also, my discussions with, and this is not averse to what you communicated, with Rocky McVeigh, who is the guru for AOC counties and the Title III funds. As long as we have, for the commissioners to be protected, and I think you're aware of this, I know you are, we need a comfortable response from county council. Are you ready to make that response? Have you already? I don't know. I'm not sure where we are at Council Huddle on that. And that response is basically to say, yes, we have followed all the guidelines and rules, and this is where we are. Are you comfortable with that?
Right, so what we're talking about here is an email from Rocky McVeigh when he was working with the sheriff, and we see if I can't pull that up.
While you're doing that, I mean, there's several pages here. I don't know why I didn't get this before.
Well, there's several pages, but
this is great information.
The resolution is what I drafted up. The other one is just, you know, with the press release I did, the papers that showed it, that when it was put in the papers, there several different articles of it. There's information from Tucker Snowcat, a letter from me saying our intent to purchase the equipment. They're already started building it. And
that was during an emergency?
It was during an emergency. You can't do it after an emergency. That's you know, or whatever.
Yeah, that's part of
the plans.
Yeah. So this is only a one-page resolution. What I'd like to do, Board, is ask you to consider, we could come back and presumably vote affirmative on this after lunch, but I want a chance to read this. Council Huddle, did you have anything else you wanted to add?
Let me just tell you that we've talked about Title III and Rocky McVeigh being essentially the guru. What he's talking about here is that we need to make the case that the article in the pilot and the social media broadcast count as the start of the comment period for the selected purchase with the Title III funds, if that's what you're aiming for. So then when we need to verify the last date proposals were called for, and then he's looking for something different, but I don't think that has to do, it's not a requirement. So he's kind of getting into more things, but essentially he's looking for the media broadcast being the comment period start. And so I think the board can make that case from what Mr. McVeigh is asking for in this email.
I think if we just had the press release, that probably, in my view, would have been adequate in itself. So to have the social media in addition, that gives me confidence.
Well, if you like, I'd read the resolution that I drafted, and, you know, if you need time to study that, that's up to you guys.
Go ahead, read it if you don't mind, Sheriff.
In the matter of the resolution to purchase a Tucker Snowcat for the Curry County Sheriff's Office using Title III funds, whereas on 1/27/2021, the Curry County Sheriff's Office responded to a report of 4 overdue subjects who were reported to have been missing since the day before and that were somewhere in the mountains on federal forest land stuck in the snow. And whereas on 1/28/2021, deputies and SAR members responded to a possible location using inadequate equipment for searches in snow-covered areas and were able to locate 2 of the stranded subjects, one of which was severely disabled. Deputies and SAR were able to rescue the 2 individuals, but the other 2 had walked on foot away. Whereas the SAR equipment was not able to go any further, the SAR team was in need of specialized snow equipment to continue the search for the other 2 missing subjects who were now in the harsh elements far from any shelter or maintained road systems. And whereas the Sheriff's Office attempted to borrow a snowcat from other inland counties without success, then ordered a snowcat from Tucker Snowcat out of Medford, Oregon for purposes of the rescue. The rescue was a success, and a press release went out to local public papers of record and local social media on 1/28/2021, notifying the public of the rescue and the planned purchase of the snowcat. Whereas it is necessary to purchase certain equipment for the efficient operation of Curry County Sheriff's Office, now therefore the Board of Curry County Commissioners hereby resolves to purchase a Tucker snowcat and trailer using the Title III funds in the amount of $194,438.81, dated the 17th day of February 2021, which today is 17th.
I'm happy to have a motion if the board is okay with that.
So move.
Second.
Any more discussion? Director Rickert?
Nothing.
Council Huddle?
Only that I think with the materials at your places, and I understand all those will be then placed in the record of the meeting as supplemental. It shows that there was outreach on this item for comments, and the sheriff has testified that all the comments were positive. So I think the board can find that we had outreach and comments were received.
Staff Jesuit, call for the question, please. Thank you, Council Huddle.
Commissioner Pash.
Aye.
Vice Chair Herzog.
Yes.
Chair Boyce.
Aye.
Motion carried unanimously.
Thank you, sirs.
John?
Thanks, Sheriff, for the patience again. We're going to call up, did you have something, Mr. Pash?
No.
We're going to call up Economic Development Coordinator Madison. Thank you also for your patience.
Good morning, Commissioners. Summer Madison, Economic Development. Briefly, we've got a reduction proposed in the biennial budget for SBDC, that's the Small Business Development Center, which, as you know, they are one of the critical partners in our regional economic resiliency team. And put some glasses on here. Some of the things that SBDC has supported Curry County and even more specifically our department is small business management resources, so infrastructure, concept and product, relationships and branding, operations and finance, market research. Huge one recently was CARES Act grant funding processing, which was a huge component of the work that they were helping us with. I'm hoping that you'll support a letter just supporting keeping that funding in place. That's not a partner we can afford to compromise losing. If you look at the amount of funding that would cut locally for Coos Curry and Western Douglas, it's at least a full-time employee. So, and they run on an extremely small staff anyways, I think 2. So I'm looking for support in that letter being sent to the senator and representative with a copy to our local representatives as well.
Thank you. And that was 2.6 million recommended statewide. And that's kind of the governor's wish list, but I think You probably already contacted them too, but the four representatives and senators you mentioned, they're well aware and very concerned for small businesses and the work that that program does in the state. I've written a letter. It's on my stationery. I'd be glad to give it to the board for their amendments approval, and hopefully we can get that out immediately. Or they can write individual letters. That wouldn't hurt either.
Okay. I've drawn up a letter, and it was in the packet, so I'm not sure what you would like.
That's the one I read, yeah.
I'm sorry, did I miss that? Yeah. Wow.
I'm happy.
Oh, yeah, you did. Thank you.
To pull them together and produce whatever you feel is most impactful.
It's good to meet Commissioner Pash?
No, I read the letter that you wrote, that it was in the package, and I would support that.
Thank you.
Is that a motion?
That's a motion.
Do we have a second?
Okay, we have motion and seconded for the support of the SBDC budget cut concerns for the state of Oregon. Any further discussion? Oh, this letter would go out to, as Coordinator Madison mentioned, Representative Boomer Wright, Senator Dick Anderson, Senator Dallas Hurd, and State Representative David Brock Smith. Any more discussion? Call for the question, Staff Jesuit, please.
Commissioner Pash.
Aye.
Vice Chair Herzog.
Yes.
Chair Boyce.
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously.
Your letter's a lot better, by the way.
Thank you for your
Thank you
help.
very much for catching that.
Just a couple of things. Miranda and I look forward to bringing a production update for the movie that's being filmed in the county at the next meeting, March 3rd. We didn't want to create any more attention to the project until they're pretty close to being done, which will be the end of the month. So we'll have a better idea too of what that, the scope of that project looks like, financially impacting the county. Let's see. I'll be down at Calvary Chapel Church tomorrow. I'll put it out on social media. I'll send out an email tomorrow 10 to 3, distributing PPE. We have masks, 2 types of sanitizing wipes, sanitizer refills, and a variety of gloves. Last thing I wanted to mention is in 2015, the county created a STED task force, that's Strategic Technology and Economic Development. And in that group, they were very productive in identifying some long-term range goals, specifically for technology, which I think would be an important conversation for this board to have, and maybe pulling in some of those departments or contracted services that we currently utilize in maybe framing a more efficient vision for spending of the PEG funds. I know yesterday in the management meeting, Juvenile Director Wendy Lang had addressed an interest in maybe revitalizing the Blue Room and making that more efficient for use, especially as we're working remotely. The other concern in that as well is the movement forward on Microsoft Teams and what that looks like, because as we continue to move forward in this pandemic, there is little time to be wasted as far as using a 40-minute free account with Zoom or GoToMeeting. And so we really need to bring some efficiency in that process. And typically, Curry County is behind as far as technology goes. When we look at what we're doing with OpenGov and NeoGov and GovPilot, it's a strong segue into continuing that movement forward in efficiencies, most importantly financially. That's all I have.
I'm going to call a quick break, 5 minutes if we can, and then we have 7C, letter of interest from McVeigh State Park, and 7D, board meeting recording of oh no, we did 7Ds. We have
State parks.
State parks, and then the noise discussion. Okay. Can we do back here at 10:45 or 11:45? State Park.
Good morning, Commissioners. Anthony Durock, Curry County Parks.
I have a few of these to pass out.
VSO Valley, did you need to address the board?
I'm here to support the park, because we're doing something with veterans.
Thank you.
Your microphone.
Thank you.
So this morning, I'm here about McVeigh Park. It's been talked about for many years, past directors, coordinators. And looking into it, talking to Mr. Becker, he had said, you know, we need to have a letter from the commissioners basically showing interest, and that's, you know, the very beginning stages of getting this process going. So what I passed out to you is the letter drawn up on behalf of the commissioners to submit to Oregon Parks Recreation Department, and just basically outlines for several years Curry County Parks Department and its committee has shown genuine interest in McVeigh Rock State Park. The intent and purpose of obtaining the park would allow Curry County Parks to expand on the current recreational opportunities available. The proposed continued use of the property would provide for inclusion of crucial historic education, overnight accommodation, maintenance of grounds, expanding parking options, and sustained access to the recreation area, ADA accessibility, and emphasis on veterans. Some of the information I have, just to go over briefly about it, we're talking about 4 lots. The 2 main lots equal about a little over 15 acres. In total, we're talking about 20 acres, all the parcels. Some of the history, McVeigh Rock, located near the wayside, was named after William R. McVeigh, who settled nearby in 1861. The park was purchased between 1970 and 1974 from private owners for public beach access. Currently, McVeigh has, it's a pretty well-hidden park, but it's noted for surf fishing, clamming, whale watching, beach access. It's currently a steep, rocky path to get down there, but hopefully there might be something we can do about that. It has a 9-hole disc golf course on it. It's overlooking the ocean. The park's elevated above the ocean and currently has a off-leash dog park. This is what the park currently has. That's a little bit of the rundown. We're basically reaching out to state, trying to move the wheels on this process that has been talked about for quite some time.
Commissioner Pash?
As you know, Chair Boyce, I have done, along with other members of this board, have done extensive research on this issue. When we began the conversation a couple of years ago when I took office about the transfer of Flores Lake, I was very opposed to the Flores Lake transfer, but in that opened up a conversation with parks and the state to possibly convey this park to Curry County. And they, at that time, stood at the podium and testified that they were very open to do that. It was a process that we had to begin, but they would consider that, and the gentleman that testified said that he felt parks would be very open to doing that. So I would like to support this and move forward with being able to have the state convey that park to the county and use that park to the fullest of its ability for the citizens of Curry County.
Mr. Herzog?
Yeah, as liaison to Anthony in his Parks Department, we've talked about this. This is just they won't talk to us unless we started with this letter. That's-
This is the beginning
The
process.
beginning
So this is
process?
how we start it, to get it going, to proceed, to see if we can make it happen, pretty much.
Go ahead, you weren't finished.
So this is just, this is a jumping off point, and, hearing more about what Commissioner Pass said about that,
Willingness.
Flores Lake, they should be willing to, because, anyway, I won't get on that bandwagon. So, yeah, I'm in favor of this, and get the conversation started.
Veteran Service Officer Vowdy, would you come up, please, and I assume you might have something you want to offer here.
Good morning, I'm Tony.
I know
from
you
Veteran
spent a lot of
Services.
time there, by the way. You
Yes, sir.
introduced me to it about 3 years ago. Thank you.
Yeah. So we've worked with, this is the third Parks Department that we've worked with to try to bridge us between Veteran Services and Parks to do something for our veterans in our community, aside from other things that we already do. But about 4 years ago, we started a disc golf event there that we partnered with the Southern Oregon Disc Golf Association. So it's kind of been something that's been between veterans and the community already. We've done it every year except for the last 2 years due to COVID, and I had a knee replacement. But things that we were talking about doing there is, if there's possibility of camping for the future, to maybe dedicate a site to a veteran, like a veterans reserve site, maybe a monument, something like that, just to be more aware of the public of what, we have for our community, for our veterans. Like I said, it's been 3-4 years that we've been trying to work with Parks, and every predecessor tried to. It's just, this is the closest we've got to it again. And so, basically, I enjoy the opportunity to work with other departments and bridge our departments the way it should be in our community and build team, establishments and see what we could do for the near future.
You see it benefiting the people that you serve, though.
Correct.
Absolutely.
Most definitely.
Any further discussion? This is, excuse me, I'm sorry.
I just want to add and echo the support that we've seen here. I think it's going to be good for the county, good for the citizens, so I think it will be a good move for us.
Obviously, the first thing that comes to my mind is the budget aspect and how we're going to fund the future on that, what kind of maintenance expenses. I'm going to need a real clear plan on that over time. I think we can make the case that this is in the best interest of state parks, and that we don't necessarily have anything right now to trade, should that come up. I wouldn't be opposed to taking a look, but this is a gorgeous piece of property. It's essentially dormant, and especially we can turn it into the advantage of veterans. That's pretty intriguing to me. Director Rickert?
Yeah, I was just going to add that all the due diligence will come after this letter, and this letter is really just intent to, a letter of interest is all, and then the board will have that opportunity to vet it out and make the final decision on it.
I'm going to be watching real close how our county expands, and if and when and at what capacity. So I'm looking for a motion, board.
Have it.
And I'd also just like to add one more thing. I do know that there is grants available for this. Me and Tony have both looked into it, both on his end and my end, to help with these things. So, and this is hopefully one of many parks that we could do this with in our community.
I was going to assume you might say that. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate your time.
Thanks for being here. Really appreciate it.
So moved.
I'll second.
Further discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Pash.
Aye.
Vice Chair Herzog.
Yes.
Chair Boyce.
Yep.
Motion carried unanimously.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you, Andrew Anthony.
So we're going to item Officer Fortman has been waiting patiently also. Is that our next one?
Yes.
On the 6th Division 12 adopting noise standards. Council Huddle, excuse me. And then Dave Fortman, Code Enforcement Officer.
Thank you, Board. This is the second reading on this ordinance. The first reading, we presented the items, and the Board directed us to make some changes. And so we try to incorporate those. heard from speakers today about the timing of this. A 5 p.m. cutoff for construction was not desirable. We did have 1 hour before sunset included in some of those, but I think not the construction one. But if the board wants, we can put 1 hour before sunset on that. And then I don't have any real feedback on the merits of what that guy said about which neighbor and where they live and all that. And I would like to say, the newspaper article I don't believe was correct, that we started this after hearing that complaint from that citizen. I personally have been working since Mick Espinosa's been here in the sheriff department on this from 2016. It's just one of those ordinances that's been in the works, and I think we were just looking for a little bit of a reminder that we were needed to do it. And I had even been working with Dave Fortman since before that person came and spoke. But really, I guess the board just needs to take a real close look at this and see if we need to tweak it just slightly from what you've heard. Or, again, you've also heard we shouldn't even be in this business, but we borrowed this ordinance. We didn't reinvent the wheel here. This ordinance came from other jurisdictions who have these kind of ordinances. They're pretty common. I know there's a civil rights or, the individual freedoms argument, but, it's just, we tried to strike a balance here. That's all I have, really, unless Mr. Ford and Dave, if you guys want to add to that.
Go ahead, Mr. Foreman.
Commissioners, I will say that the county has a history and code enforcement of working with their communities and problems and trying to solve it, so this is not a hammer. And you're putting it to Article 10, giving a discretion to my department and which way we pursue. Is we intend to, unless the board tells me otherwise, to pursue it as the way we have been doing it, and trying to co-opt people into cooperation into the system. I've been surprised, and my staff this morning in my quick meeting, we're already getting calls. Apparently, this newspaper article generated some people bringing some concerns. And I understand, I missed the comments this morning, but again, I'll say part of our community is rural, and part of our community is urban. And I think Article 10 gives the county, using this ordinance, the tools to be able to balance it fairly across the community.
Commissioner Pash?
Well, I agree with county council, and on the adopting of 1 hour to sunset on that one paragraph F. I think it stops at construction at 5 p.m. And it should be, I think it should be changed to 1 hour to sunset, as is consistent with the rest. During the summer hours, I mean, if somebody gets home and they got a nice afternoon after work and they want to go hang some new gutters or something like that, there should be no restrictions. And one more point I would make as to Mr. Fortman, his comments that, the way we've written Article 10 in this, it is the discretion of the officer that arrives, and it's a broad discretion. He can use the decibel meter as continuing or further evidence, but it is still their discretion. I am one, though, that doesn't like too much government getting in our business, and my fear is your predecessor, it would be too strict. So I think Article 10 is a valve, for lack of a better term, to have discretion and to protect the citizens as well.
Who's your predecessor?
Or not predecessor, wrong term, sorry. The person comes after you. I'm getting old.
Well, I'm following you now. I want to read, did you have something else to respond there? Please remain. I just want to read something that's kind of funny. The first year, this is a family moved here about 10 years ago. The first year we were here, we found a note on our windshield from a neighbor complaining about our dog barking. Why was the dog barking on the 4th of July? I guess the neighbor didn't hear the people setting off mortars and illegal fireworks all night long. So, dogs are an issue sometimes. I'd rather not vote on this today just from the public comment. I'm going to support this resolution, but I'm a little bit concerned that if we pass it today, that some of that additional information that we did hear public comment on, and even eye-opening a little bit. Not so much from the first respondent, but, and then I wanted to add something as well under the section of exemptions, and that's for farming. I want to make sure that agriculture's, that there's no ambiguity there between farming and agriculture, because, for example, on our harbor bench, there is harvest time, there is process time, there is shop time, and so I want to make sure that that's covered. So delaying this one more time, I know it's not real customary to have a third reading, but that would be my preference to the board, is just do a little bit more fine-tuning before we actually pass this, and that would give me a little more time to study and make sure that I'm adding, or if anything actually does need to be added. So I'd like to have the support on that. Excuse me, go ahead, Commissioner.
So I'm not in agreement with the timing that we have here either. So that's been mentioned today. And
did he just cover that on the hour before sunset? Is that?
Yes.
yeah.
That's the same one you're talking
Well, and so I'm not even, so an hour before sunset right now, or like in December, that'd be like 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
Well, I'll tell you, and the point was made today on builders and, running equipment, and they've only got, especially in a climate where, to your point, I think, where it rains 85 inches a year, when they've got those times that they can actually be working, anything we can do to help our builders, I'll tell you, they're all getting, a good portion of them anyway, are getting close to retirement, and who's going to take their place? And with the housing shortage we have, that is an issue. So, I think taking the time to understand both of your concerns here and the language would be very helpful to me. Commissioner Pash?
I think we can just make amendments right now, though, and do the second reading. We can just amend it right here just by reading through it and get through it. That's part of what we do.
Then you want to vote today?
It would be my choice would be to vote today, yes. Just make find the amendments that we need here, and let's get it done.
Commissioner Herzog? Oh.
Well, I had a question for Dave. So I was thinking more like 7 to 7.
I was listening to this. I missed the discussion this morning. Yeah. I think sunset, the winter is a good comment. Sunset is a good time where communities want. And again, if you're working on your property, the way this ordinance is written, and you're in the boons and you're doing something, it's not going to be affecting your neighbors. There's not going to be a complaint, and it's not an actionable item. So the question is what's your drawing line? And I could see the concern about December ending at 5 o'clock.
Council Huddle?
Well, again, whether we adopt it today or not, it sounds like we have some work on the language to do, and I think making use of our time today to at least get that language settled, and then maybe we can agree on it, maybe we can't, but certainly, and so I've been listening, and here's what I have tried to put in here. Let me see if this language is flexible enough. So somebody mentioned in the wintertime, sure, an hour before sunset is going to be 3 o'clock, maybe.
3:30.
But anyway, but what I've written then is saying between the latter of 5 p.m. or 1 hour before sunset. So essentially, whichever is later, 5 p.m. or 1 hour before sunset. So essentially in the wintertime, 5 p.m. is a cutoff. It's going to be dark, and people are ready to settle down. Again, this is just policy stuff. And then in the summertime, it allows them to go all the way to 1 hour before sunset, which could be 9 o'clock or 8:30 or something. But, and 7 to 7 is another way to do it. But again, I'm just trying, it's more of an art than a science, but I think we are trying to do a balance.
We could like 7 to 7.
I think we're going to...
Yeah, 7 to 7?
I like 7 to 7.
Okay.
Good.
But see, there's a little bit of confusion here, and so why do we need to rush this today?
Well, I'm not sure if we're rushing it, but we do need to use the time here to craft it while we're all together, I think. I mean, we've looked at it once. We've suggested some changes and brought those back, but certainly looking for direction if nothing else. What is the direction of the board on this?
Well, we need to get back to basics, and we've talked agriculture. We've talked a time frame that's easy for people to understand and follow. What else do we need to consider amending on this? And I really want it in front of me before I vote as an actual ordinance. Go through the whole public process. There's nothing wrong with doing a third or even a fourth reading if it's in the proper interest of fine tuning and bringing the public on board. Did you have something, Commissioner Pash?
Well, I agree with actually what you said a minute ago and what David Barnes said this morning, to add agriculture to that as well. If somebody has chickens or whatever, that again, that might be an issue. So to add the agriculture, what I'm sorry. We're crafting an ordinance right now, and that's, we're not going to necessarily vote on it today because, as you said, you want to see it in front of you, but we still have to craft the language for the ordinance. So I'm just adding to that. And so my point is to add agriculture to the line of, I'm not
Exemptions.
sure. Yes.
I'm tracking, it's 6.12.060 exemption number B. It used to just say farming.
Yes.
Now I've added, it says farming and agriculture, farming and agricultural practices because of noise arising from farm and agricultural use of land zoned for farming or agriculture.
And I would concur, my last comment would be I would concur with Commissioner Herzog. 7 to 7 actually for me that's very clean.
So then you got a little bit of simplification. Is that year round?
Yep, that's 7 to 7 year round.
I think so.
I feel better about that. Commissioner Herzog and then Officer Fortman?
So on section enumeration of acts in violation, D, what Dave Barnes read, or singing in the public street, on the public streets.
Oh, don't go back there again.
So if we could, strike that, I mean, is that?
This is...
I think common sense that doesn't make sense, but it's when you have a drunk party that's singing bowdies in front of your house, I mean, that's where Article 10 comes in to address addresses your issue, Commissioner.
Section 6.12.060 exemptions. Nothing in this chapter is intended to unreasonably restrict or regulate.
Right.
So I think you brought that up last meeting, I can't remember, but that says a lot, but it feels a little sloppy to me because we're still looking at 3 or 4 slight amendments. Maybe we're there, maybe we're close, not to be negative here, but go ahead.
Actually, I think the 7 to 7 defined timeline makes it a lot clearer for people. The other one is when you start talking about agricultural exemptions, which I'm for, but again, where I live, we have right now a complaint of a house with 127 ducks on it that's not agriculture, it's recreation. So are we talking about agricultural zone property?
That's what it says. It's the activities on agricultural zoned on properties. Here's what it says: farming and agricultural practices because of noise arising from farm and agriculture use of land zoned for farming or agriculture.
That's the clarification I was looking for.
And that's where the rural residents of the county are going to be. But I mean, if you've got 100 ducks in Harbor, in some of those neighborhoods.
I have 4 doors down from me, 60 some odd ducks and geese living inside of somebody's house.
Nobody believes that.
I have pictures.
Yes, I forgive me there for giving you a bad time because I know what you deal with. No, I don't know, but I do believe you. So some field operations are noisy on the agriculture, especially on the harbor bench. So what are we possibly overlooking here that can come back for us in the next meeting, and we have presumably the last reading and a vote? Anything we're forgetting?
Let me summarize, if I could, the changes that we've done today. We removed the hour before sunset, and we made uniform the limitations on noise from the lawn mowers and the construction and the pile drivers and the other things from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. Nice and clean and simple, and I also believe reasonable, certainly. And then on the exemptions, we had farming, we added agriculture. So it says, it used to just say farming, now it says farming and agricultural practices because of noise arising from farm and agricultural use of land zone for farming or agriculture. So that handles a rural use. The yelling and shouting and singing, again, it's not just that you're there, but it has to be audible within a noise-sensitive unit. So you're not just going to get cited for walking down the street singing and whistling if it can't be heard in a noise-sensitive unit. So there's, people read this for the first time, and I could see where they could say, that's outrageous, but if you actually read through it, it's trying to strike a balance. And we're not reinventing the wheel here. We're taking somebody else's wheel and customizing it for our purposes based on what we heard. But again, if you want another reading, that's fine. There is no prohibition on that. I will say this, in the ordinance that I prepared, there's a couple things going on. I added an emergency clause. So if we don't add an emergency clause, the ordinance doesn't become effective for 90 days after adoption. So that's an option for the board, and then you could see if people come in with a lot of, realistic complaints about it in that 90 days, and then, but now we're February, March, April, it wouldn't go into effect till May, or we could have it with these changes effective because of an emergency right upon the adoption after the second reading.
Go ahead.
Well, again, I'd like to say one of the things that I'm proud to live here in Curry County is that, we get along and we understand and we use common sense. And just like, I'm going to just use another example that we're going to be talking about this afternoon. Animals. We have a state leash law, but in Curry County, we've interpreted it in a couple different ways depending on the community. And we've tapered it, and it's been with the board's permission, and I just think if the board says, follow what we've been doing and trying to educate and resolve problems first, that's the path we're going to go down. If the board changes its mind next year and says, be like the big city and go out and cite somebody, then that's the board's thing. But if you go on record, this gives us the tools to be able to respond to people's complaints and concerns. And the board has given my department direction repeatedly to apply those fairly and equally. And I hope that I have the trust of this board in doing that.
Commissioner Herzog.
So my question is, I got a call yesterday from a representative of Freeman Rock who read this in the paper and was asking if you have a conditional use permit, does that override this noise ordinance? Because I think they have conditional use permit for their cement, concrete company.
Well, a cup can be used to put restrictions on a property's use. That would be a more question for Council Hub, but I don't see a cup overriding the ordinance unless there's an exemption written into it.
Well, with our ordinance, you can have a special permit to conduct noise activities as well. So we have the prohibitions, the exceptions, and then a special permit. I would actually just want to look at the actual specific conditional use permit, what conditions there are, those kind of things. But, maybe rock is an industrial use, typically not forestry or agriculture. So maybe we want to also add onto their industrial use on land zoned industrial. And that might help. Is that, with certainly those kind of things. So,
Council Huddle, what if we added forestry, farming, agriculture, and industrial, all in the same paragraph with forestry, the normal and usual operation of equipment and machinery in connection with, and I don't need to repeat it all. Could we do that?
I can put it together and we can take a look at it.
Because I'm glad you brought that up. I did not think of that.
Well, and I think we might have fixed it with the timing. If we change this, our time requirements might.
I'm not sure about that. Sometimes industrial operations are continuous.
Like the mills.
Yeah, they've got to keep those things going. So I think adding a exemption for industrial uses on land zoned and industrial, but I think, and that was, Ted gave you the call
No,
it?
it was Daryl Nelson.
Okay,
there.
okay.
Yeah.
Anyway.
You don't have to say.
Oh.
That's okay. Still, I'm always been impressed with Ted, and so if it was come from him, he's a very sharp guy, and I value his input. So I think it's a great point, and I think we just add an industrial exemption, and then again, we just have to look at them case by case on the conditional use permit. But I think an industrial exemption would go a long way to addressing their questions.
And I hate to keep talking, but
You're doing fine.
South Coast Lumber is another one. I mean, they've been around here forever, and, depending on which way the wind is blowing, I live quite a few miles from them, but but it's just the mill. It wouldn't be right if I didn't hear it, so.
You're thankful people are working
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
Well, based on, Council Huddle, based on the emergency clause, based on your summary, I think I would like to bring it back for a vote, or we can vote today with, maybe we should just do that, vote today with the amendments, and I think we're probably going to be okay. Do you agree?
I think we had a workshop and a first reading on this, but I can't remember. The only other thing I would like to say is one of the early noise regulations we looked at was DEQ has its own Oregon administrative rule on, and it's very broad. And I think some of these people, like industrial users, may have a DEQ, rule on top of them, and they may have to, toe the line on all that stuff. So I wonder if we want to add another exemption for people with a permitted use from the DEQ, so that just, if they just show us a DEQ permit, we say that's fine or something. And,
I'm okay with that.
Okay.
Me too.
All right, because,
So,
yeah.
so back to basics. The main thing is what? Respect your neighbors. Just respect your neighbors. If it's your dogs or your chickens, you won't be showing up, as a general rule. I know that sounds pretty simple, but that's the message we need to send to the public.
No, I agree with you, Chair Boris. I also will say that when I bought my property in Harbor, I remember my neighbor was complaining about the ocean sounds. I mean, that's what Article 10 just gives us the discretion, and this board's been pretty direct, and you're on record, and hopefully you feel that that's the way we're enforcing it, and it will be under me. So.
Is the board clear on where we are then? Yes.
Yeah, I think I remember there was a gentleman that somebody was discussing with the bell buoy. And, so you got to have that common sense area. It's too bad that Curry County has to get in this business, but that's where we're at, because people don't want to get along with each other.
The other one I'll point out, fortunately, my experience in the last couple of years of doing this job is the first maybe contact is confrontational, second's a little less, and by the time we get down to the third, people start seeing the side, and it's only a very small percentage that we actually end up in a citation.
Yeah.
It's just, they're not going to listen, period.
Council Huddle.
Thanks. The only thing I would say about continuing this is I know we have had a person in the audience who's been here all day and has probably approached the board one time before, and I know, Mr. Chair, you're usually sensitive to folks who've traveled a long way and committed a great amount of time to our efforts. So here's the other changes I've made based on the last things. I think we're good on the 7 to 7. We added agricultural, we added an industrial exemption, and we added an exemption for and what it says is actually existed, G, sounds regulated by federal and state law, so I added including but not limited to activities permitted by Oregon Department of Environmental Quality, and so that should have covered that. And I think, I think with those changes, I feel like we've, I don't want to say we couldn't improve on it. The beauty of this also is it's our own act. If we need to change it,
we can change it.
If we need to change it in the future, if we need to tighten it up or loosen it, we can always come back and do that.
Yep. Based on that, I'm okay to vote today.
Me too.
So is there a motion to approve it as amended?
Yes.
We have a motion. Do we have a
I'll
second?
second.
Any further discussion? Call for the question, please.
Commissioner Pash.
Aye.
Vice Chair Herzog.
Yes.
Chair Boyce.
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously.
Question for the record. So the emergency clause, when would this go into effect? 'Cause
Upon passage. So it will, yep.
Yeah.
Once we get it signed and probably, recorded with the clerk and all that stuff.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. Can we finish up, or do we need to?
I think we need to break staff.
Yeah, I think lunch. We've got a few exec sessions.
So we only have commissioner comments and, executive session, I'm sorry. And director's report?
And item F and G.
F and G still?
So let's do this, excuse me. Should we meet back here? Give me a time board. So
1:15.
1:15?
1:15.
1:15 it is. Thank you all.
J.J. Watt might go play for them.
Welcome back, everyone. Thank you, John Jesuit. We left off before lunch. I think we only have one agenda item left, and that is appointing a member to the Budget Committee.
And and a contract.
Which
had-
contract was that, sorry?
Brad, G.
Yeah, 7G.
Oh, yes.
Check.
It was a late arrival. Well, it's only 1:15, well, now it's 1:15. Thank you all for being here today. Okay, so appointing a member of the Budget Committee, Central County position, Director Rickard. How did we end up in the beginning of the meeting on this? We were...
Well, we had a
Discussion?
we had a late application arrive this morning, which would give us 3 applications. So Pat Estlund, Laurel Snook, and Wayne Krieger. So that it's Central County is the position that is open, but there was some discussion about postponing that until next week, or not next week,
Next
but
meeting?
2 weeks, next meeting. So it's up to the board to decide how they want to proceed on that.
So what would the board like to do? I've kind of said my piece so far. Commissioner Herzog?
I know who I want to, I like.
Well, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Commissioner Pash.
Well, we've got, I believe it was beginning of April is our first planning for budget season. So for me, the sooner we could appoint someone, the better. I know you mentioned maybe bringing it back, but we've got 3 qualified people. We've all had time, I think, to look at their applications, and I would just hope that this board would appoint somebody sooner than later is my comment. Thank you.
Well, the only thing I would add to that is it's another, could be viewed, we got another applicant, taking the extra time, whether it's into March or even April for the Budget Committee process. I don't see how 2 weeks would matter to do a little additional consideration, research, just being oriented to, first of all, I'm very happy that we have 3 excellent candidates. It's going to be a tough vote for me, but I'm going to ask the board to consider that extra 2 weeks of assessment time. Go ahead.
I'm just wondering, have we all, before today, we looked at the other 2 applicants, I'm sure, in our packet from the last few days? So the new one we have today, Mr. Krieger, I think all of us know personally and professionally very well. So I don't know what we would gain from waiting another 2 weeks of reassessing if we already have looked at the packet on the other 2 applicants, and we all admittedly know Mr. Krieger's position and his background and what he's done for the county. So that's my thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Pash. Yeah, I was ready to vote today, but now I'm basically at a toss-up. I want to suggest to the public, anytime you have somebody with former State Representative Krieger's credentials, boy, it really turns your head quickly. He is, I think, one of his biggest in the 6 sessions that he served, 12 years. His time on the Ways and Means Committee would be very beneficial to the Curry County budget. His time with the Oregon State Police. He is very strong in agriculture, which I think is a good match and good representation of Curry County. So based on that, you know, I want to support him. But I don't want to be rushed into that decision. I think that's all that needs to be said. If the board wants to vote today, I'm ready to do that. But waiting 2 weeks, I see no urgency here whatsoever.
Well, I'd make a motion that we vote. Or it'd be not a motion, but it'd be my ask that we vote.
You can make a motion if you want.
Well, we'd have to vote for the person, though, and then accept that person.
Is there just one position to be filled?
Yes.
Correct.
Or, yeah, I think you could just, if you have a person in mind, you could, I mean, it's just a motion, and whether it gets a second or not and all that fun stuff.
All right, I'll make a motion that we approve Wayne Krieger for the open Central County Budget Committee position.
I'll second that motion. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Call for the question, sorry.
Commissioner Pash.
Aye.
Vice Chair Herzog.
No.
Chair Boyce.
Yes.
Motion carried 2-1.
Thank you, Board. Okay, so are we now, thanks, by the way, Commissioner Pash, for moving right up on your item today on 7D Board meeting record keeping. So we are at G, which is a special contract added in our amended agenda earlier today. Director Rickert?
So back in December, I notified the board of a contract with Summer Sears, our CPA, to help us with upcoming budget needs as well as some help with OpenGov as needed. And she has ended up being a huge help and an integral part in testing the GL before we went live and helping us to make those final last tweaks to go live. She understands Cassell extremely well and governmental accounting very well also. However, due to some unforeseen issues that we had as we were trying to go live, we ended up using her help a little more than we expected, and caused some expenditures in excess of the $10,000. But in addition to that, as we move forward implementing more modules in OpenGov, I do hope and expect that we will use her services a little bit more. The first one and the next major task is getting the treasurer functions up and running, especially the tax distribution. She understands, again, how Cassell works and how the tax distribution works, and we'll need her expertise in helping to convert that over to the OpenGov system. Other future needs or possible needs are we may use her again when we bring the payroll module online, just to make sure everything works out exactly right and we don't have any hiccups there. And then again, still just with budgets as we work through the budget season this year. So the funds were budgeted last year to use her help in some of these areas. And so I am asking the board to approve a contract extension of the original $10,000 up to not to exceed $25,000 to use her services and continuing to help us through going live with OpenGov and through the budgeting season. I have the contract here if you want to look at it. but it is our standard contract with not to exceed $25,000. It is crucial that we approve this today so that we can get going on this next week with the treasurer's tax distribution.
Thank you, Mr. Rickard. Director Rickard. Board?
I think it's imperative that we move forward with it. Summer Sears has been instrumental in last year's budget issues, helped us to provide a balanced budget, i.e. without the road fund.
Say that again, please.
Summer Sears helped last year with our budgeting process, helped Julie through the budgeting process, did a lot of work with us on that, and I submit that we had a balanced budget, and I know counties have to have a balanced budget, and I met with no use of road funds last year. So she's going to be instrumental this year with the shortcomings we're going to face with all the issues that the county is dealing with, and now with our lack of a treasurer in the office that has experience to teach the new treasurer and all of those issues we face, as well as our payroll issues and the new payroll system that we believe will automate a lot of the payroll process and starve out a lot of the issues. I think it'll be instrumental to the county and money well spent.
Commissioner Herzog?
I do not know. Summer Sears, I'm in the dark on this one, so I'd have to go with staff's recommendation.
Well, here, I want citizens to hear me here. We're digging a deeper hole, it looks like to me. If this is the first time that I've heard that Ms. Sears is going to help with OpenGov. We heard that we'd be online in April. I voted for OpenGov in the very beginning, and I quickly changed my vote, afterwards, begging for forgiveness and begging for reconsideration, because it's going to cost the county, correct me if I'm wrong, $300,000 or $400,000 over the next 3 or 4 years. Okay, is it 200,000? What is it?
It's about 50,000 a year, which if you take the other
so
program
after 3 years,
is
that
half of that.
Okay. All right, Cassell would have been 20,000 to do an update. So I am very nervous. I hope OpenGov works, but now I find out today that we have to hire somebody else. Is she worthy of what we'll have to pay if we follow through? Certainly she is. But here's my concern. We have right now the highest paid financial director we've had in our county system for years, maybe forever. We have an extra person in there that we have are employing, that we're trying to train. We have a person that is contracted out to do payroll audits. We have another person that's getting substantial overtime that we're very concerned we're going to burn out. This started 4 years ago when we lost Gary Short, a tremendous individual. And I just see the money going out. And then I learned at 12:25 today that we have to increase her contract, which may be $40,000 total, so that we can save OpenGov. When are we going to learn, guys? So all those things add up to a huge hole in the ship. And it's not like we haven't been warned. It's not like I haven't been saying, where are we going, folks? Where is our system? And what are the results of where we are? So Director Rickert, you're next, please.
So the total is $25,000. That is inclusive of what we've already spent for
it
her
does include that.
services. Yes.
Excuse me, so I was wrong on 40.
Total. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
And I did talk about having her come on board back in December and I think in January to help out with this.
But not OpenGov.
Yes, with OpenGov.
I don't recall that. Not disputing, maybe you did, but the bottom line is what percentage of her time, if I may ask, Director Rickert, is going to be dedicated towards OpenGov? roughly?
Versus budget? What do you mean?
Yeah, we have you. Why do we need her? That's what is just a little bit concerning for
Well,
me.
she is an expert in Cassell. I have not used Cassell until coming here. And that's a big reason why she has been so helpful, is because she understands Cassell and can help convert some of these things over to
Okay, let me ask you this, if I may. Since she's an expert in Cassell and we're paying her a high dollar, and would she recommend, or could we find out from her if she would recommend keeping Cassell based on what you're telling me and delaying OpenGov for a while? I mean, that seems like it might be a very prudent direction.
I guess I don't see the use in doing that.
She's an expert in a system that we are, we're putting.
We can ask her. She has told me that
Very
Cassell
helpful.
has its problems, and my feelings from the little that she said about Cassell is that Cassell's not.
Well, a lot of counties use it, and no other counties are using OpenGov. Of the 36 in the entire state of Oregon. Commissioner Pash?
Well, a couple of things. Firstly, we're already live with Cassell, so we're already doing that process. I'm not with Cassell, with OpenGov. We're already live with OpenGov, so that process has already begun. You know, Commissioner, Chair Boyce, a lot of what we face here right now is because something that was completely out of your control, and that is a commissioner of a past board that when money went out the door, when revenues were lost, he gutted this county and stripped down some of the services of this county to bare bones. We've got a finance department in there that has been severely understaffed for years, and they are doing the work of more people than are present, much more people. So there's a couple of consequences to that, and one is we've gotten horribly behind in our processes, which has been some of the budget and audit problems that the county's faced and the violations in those audits, because we don't have the people to put in the man hours. We don't have enough staff in there. So we're finally getting a staff back in there. Well, not a staff back in, but getting, a new director of operations and finance, and we've got Carrie in there, who's, from what I understand, is an A-plus person and invaluable service. So you're starting to see everything come back together from where it was before your tenure began and in the beginning of your tenure, when a commissioner basically, what I call, gutted this county. You're starting to see some of those things come back. We're getting our audits are getting caught up and passed. We're getting back caught up on a lot of the other services that this county used to provide in the norm, and now it's become a special item. And another thing is our software programs. You've seen the clerk has updated their software program. We have to update software. Our assessor's office has new software, and it's time for the county to have the new software. And unfortunately for that, you have to learn the new software. And I have had a conversation with Ms. Sears, and she is not 100% sold on Cassell either. It has its issues, and I don't have a friendship with her, so I want you both to understand I don't have a friendship with Summer Sears. I've spoken to her on the phone, I think, 2 or 3 times is all I've done. So there's nothing, no hidden agendas there. But we have to update this. I will say when she came on, only a couple of weeks ago, she came on and helped on OpenGov for one day and got, I think, as much done in one day as we were getting done in a week, because they needed a licensed CPA to come in on that at that moment that understood a few different ways of how they did things, and she came in and dotted those I's across those T's. So I just want to reiterate, I don't think it's really money out the door that's our fault, Commissioner. I think that this is something that predates you, and unfortunately we're caught up in the vacuum of it, and we have to fix it. And we're trying to move strongly toward doing that, and I would imagine the citizens are applauding us for doing it.
Did you have something?
Well, I was just going to add, so she's very well versed in Cassell, it sounds like, and OpenGov, so.
Not OpenGov. She understands Cassell very well. She understands accounting, governmental accounting, and can help make that transition.
Okay. All right.
So you referenced Commissioner Pash, just in the interest of honest debate and dialogue here, respectful dialogue. You mentioned the citizens. It hasn't just been the gutting of 2 years. It has been the last 4 years that I've been here, and I have very good documentation that shows the amount of money that's gone out of this county and what the priorities have been and what what the destruction has been. And I have pushed consistently for those 4 years. You heard my state of the county today where I said, hey, I seem to be the minority commissioner, but I'm seeing money go out that we cannot justify. So we got another $25,000 today when we know we're $1 million down. We don't know where that money's going to come from. And we just keep saying, okay, we're going to spend this. We're throwing good money after bad. We're spending $5 to save a nickel. I wish we could have said, can we, and I ask for this, can we delay OpenGov? Our own people are telling us, now's not the time, okay? And we're not listening. And now you got an expert that says, Cassell is what I'm used to. I can update this, and it can be very productive for the county. I'm not speaking for her, but I think that's what she would tell us if she was here right now, and we should take advantage of that. All of us here mutually are proud of the employees we have, certainly not to overlook our financial department. I just keep seeing the money go out. I keep seeing rationalization for approaches that just don't add up, don't make sense. And we've got a chance now, right now, to say we're going to delay OpenGov a while. We're going to wait till just one other city or county in the state of Oregon say, yeah, we can make this work. Cut our losses, get after Cassell, listen to our people, and get this resolved. Quit pushing for a system that could ultimately unwind us. I hope it works. I've been hoping and encouraging as long as I could, but I have to be realistic on this. So, Commissioner Herzog or anybody else? I'm not for spending the $25,000 unless it is to absolutely refine our budget. I don't want her time or any professional's time, CPA or otherwise, spent on OpenGov.
So what you're saying is you don't want to have an expert that is an expert with Cassell come in and help to finish off the hundreds of hours that our finance department has put into building this. You'd rather discontinue it for now and go back to the old system, and then in 3 months, 6 months, pick it back up and start all over?
I'm saying I don't want to spend one more dime on OpenGov, not one more minute. I couldn't express that or communicate that strongly enough. I've been saying this. We keep pushing. It's the approach is a dog with a bone, that we're going to make this work, and I get no evidence that it works anywhere else in this state. It's a perfect example. How did we get here? Our finance department is not just making up for what we lost what changed in 2017. It goes way beyond that. It goes with the leadership of this county for 4 years. Commissioner Pash?
I've given the board a list of counties, other counties in other states that have a complete OpenGov system in them. I have spoken with a couple of them, and they said it was a bear to get it going. They are so glad they stuck it out.
They might have money to do that, sir.
To not have to come this far and not have this finished off and up and running and a new software program that will fix a lot of the payroll issues at a minimum that we're facing. Not to mention the expedited budget process, the managers to be able to manage their own budgets, the invoicing time, that even our own staff, Sina came in and testified that she believes it will save the finance office hours of time weekly because they won't have to do that process anymore. You know the basket that we go through every week. I went through one 3 or 4 weeks ago. It was literally, they said it was the biggest one they'd ever had. It was about a foot tall.
But we still have to do that, right?
You won't have to anymore.
We should have to do that.
You can go online and see it, sir, is what I'm saying. You won't have to have that. We won't have to get like our health care, the lawsuit that was filed for the time that it took to get those invoices paid. That will be immediate now. They send it over to finance and it gets done immediately. All that gets automated with this new program. And I'm not saying that it's going to work perfect. It's going to take time and work to get this in still. All I'm saying is that Summer Sears is an expert at doing this. And Mr. Director Rickert, when he came in, he told us, I don't know a lot about Cassell. So it's going to take time for him to get up to speed to do this. But he came into a middle of a situation where Julie Schmelzer was leaving. And we didn't have someone that understood Cassell, so we hired Director of Operations Rickert to take her position, knowing that he didn't have the experience in Cassell. And we knew at that point it was going to take someone to do the final dots, to get it finished, and Summer Sears is that person.
So we got a basket this high. How many baskets that high would we have to justify going through to make up for $50,000? And yes, I understand the payroll concept. We're just not there yet. We're not a big enough county to justify that. So, Director Rickert?
I do want to say that the system is up and running. It is working. We are processing AP. They're probably processing it as we speak right now. And the other thing that I wanted to mention is that last year there was money budgeted for this. It was specifically set aside to help with this.
For OpenGov, sir.
For OpenGov and for budget purposes.
Well, that just tells the people we've been battling this for at least a year or more.
Yeah.
Okay. So I've said my piece. Go ahead.
So it was foreseen that this was not going to be easy, and so you said it's budgeted to have somebody, maybe not her, but somebody, to move this final push to.
Yes, it was budgeted to have her help out with this and budget process this year.
With foresight that we knew there was a problem.
Mm-hmm.
And it was Summer Sears specific, it was budgeted specifically to her as the expert.
It's in the budget.
Yes.
He just has to get approval to disperse that.
Yes.
So I know this is ongoing battle, but what was the price again for OpenGov that we've already put out, the outlay?
Implementation, 45,000, I believe. Yearly fees were about 45,000.
And they go up, I think, 3% a year.
Yeah, it's.
But we paid that.
Yes.
So that $45,000 a year plus the 3% is in perpetuity indefinitely?
Yes. But we also pay, what do we pay OpenGov?
What I'm talking about is OpenGov.
I'm sorry, Cassell.
I don't know what we pay Cassell, but they have the same, I'm sure they have the same increases. Assessors programs, clerks programs, all these programs, they all have their yearly maintenance costs, and those increase every year. That's how they make their money. That's nothing new.
If I could, I think it was.
We need to get back to Cassell. Now's our chance.
I think Cassell, I want to say it was 60, in the high teens on an annual fee, but to have the payroll function involved in it as well, it was like another 12,000. So it was like, it would have been, I think, 30 some odd thousand with the same functions in it that OpenGov has. So yes, OpenGov is more expensive, but it does a lot more. So that's my opinion.
Director Rickert?
One other thing I want to say about Cassell is if the board chooses to go back to Cassell, we will still be forced to go look for another payroll program because Cassell cannot handle the county's payroll complexities and to mitigate any continuing mistakes that are made in payroll. A separate payroll program.
You don't think Summer Sears' expertise could remedy that issue?
That's a software issue.
Okay, so you want to put your eggs in the OpenGov basket.
I was hired with that intent, and that's where I'm at. And the problems I've seen with payroll, if nothing else works but payroll, we'll be ahead of the game.
Okay, so I won't support Summer Sears' time being put into OpenGov. I will support the other identified reasons that we are needing her services, which I'm exceedingly happy about, but not under the OpenGov umbrella.
So,
Go ahead.
well, I was going to make a motion, but go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna ask, so if it's in the budget, why is it here today? So,
That's a procedure we have to follow. Just because it's budgeted, it doesn't mean that it's been approved. The
Okay,
board
all
still
right.
has to approve to.
Boy, oh boy, yeah, we really want to improve and know what's going on.
yeah.
He can sign up to 10,000 once it's over that, then the board said they wanted it brought back, so.
Okay.
I would just make a motion that we approve the extended contract, and to be very transparent, part of that will be used for the further implementation of OpenGov. And that's my motion.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? Call for the question?
Commissioner Pash.
Aye.
Vice Chair Herzog.
Yes.
Chair Boyce.
No.
Motion carried 2-1.
Director's report.
Okay. I have a few things on here. So, first off is our part-time janitor that we hired back in December for COVID cleaning reasons. We had said that we would hire him as long as there was COVID funding there to continue paying his wages. That funding has run out. However, I do not see a way we can go without him at this point with the continuing pandemic, with the constant threat of OSHA complaints. We really need him to continue to be here, but I wanted to get board direction on how we wanted to proceed with that. If we continue having him clean as he has been, or if we go ahead and as the contract, or not contract, but as his terms of employment state, to let him go at this point.
Go ahead, Council Huddle.
Thanks. I couldn't help but overhear a couple things going on in the building facilities maintenance department. They have an employee there, Henny, or had, I think her last day was today, and I overheard that fella come in and talk to Julie Swift and ask if he could just, and apparently Brandy has moved into Henny's slot, and I don't know, maybe Brandy was paid with the same COVID money, but he was wondering if he could move into Brandy's slot. So I think there might be more to this to consider.
I think that any further discussion on that is probably meant for executive session.
Oh, maybe, but at the same time, I'm just talking about where the money would come from.
Yeah.
In other words, there may be money from vacancies. I'm not saying they'd make a hiring decision, but
Sure.
if the question is how do we fund the continued cleaning and whatever desanitizing due to COVID of our facilities, there may be resources. But it's brand new development just today with the transition. So I guess I'm wondering, what are you making a request of the board, or is this just information?
Just partial information, partial direction.
Okay.
So, yeah, that is something I can look further into. We'll leave it at that.
Okay, so yeah, there just may be a change, just hot off the press kind of info.
And if that isn't a viable solution, what does the board direct?
So what is a choice to desanitize or pay, to either pay out of general fund to desanitize or not to sanitize?
Exactly.
Okay.
Is that it?
And how many hours a day is he working?
I don't know. It's part-time,
So
20 a week.
So we have to learn how to wear that backpack? Commissioner?
Yeah, I'm already taking out my garbage.
Okay, so
good.
I'll explore
There
that
you go.
possibility, and I can bring this back at a different time then, if nothing changes. The next thing I have is upon the compensation committee. currently, we have a full three-member committee. However, Kevin McHugh's, his term expires in 2020, although he has notified us that due to some different reasons, he will not be able to participate this year. So again, I want to get the board's direction on, do we continue without him? We still have a quorum, the two other members can make it, or do we open up his position and find a new member for the duration of his term?
I say both. You know, we can continue on, but I think we need to to do our best to fill that position, North County.
Now, he is able to come back for his last year in 2022. It's just this year.
Okay.
So put the word out to get a new member. No worries if we can't find one.
I agree with that.
Next item is the roadmaster came to me a couple days ago and notified me that he has a 2-hour workshop that he needs to bring before the board, which kind of throws a wrench into our workshop schedule, and we need to add an extra workshop. So I'm suggesting next Wednesday from 9 to 12.
I will not be here.
Okay.
About what day will you be here?
Next week, I'm going down to see my granddaughters that I haven't seen. One of them I haven't never even met.
Ah, that's awesome. Okay, so next week sounds like it's out, or could you call in?
I could probably call in, yeah.
Let's do that.
Okay.
So that would give us a slot of 11 to 12 to fill, at least with one more 30-minute workshop.
Yes, we can add something to that.
Okay.
So
I'll get back to you on that and vice versa.
Okay.
And FYI, for the board, I already know pretty much what he's going to bring to the board. I know the gist of it already, so.
Okay.
Okay.
So we couldn't do it like on the first week of March?
Well,
It's just the workshop responsibilities are going to pile up is my concern.
I'll be sitting there having coffee in a hotel.
Yeah, we at this point, we have to add an extra one. I did everything I could to schedule it so that we didn't have to add an extra one, but
okay.
2 hours, that's a long workshop, so.
Do you want to do that in the afternoon, or I'm actually fine either way.
I'd rather do it in the morning, but it's up to you guys.
That's fine.
Okay.
Next.
2 more items. One, we heard Summer Madison talk about some comments made yesterday in manager's meeting of converting the Blue Room to more of an official meeting room. And if it is the will of the board, I will proceed in looking into that a little bit more. I think it's mainly moving stuff out, which isn't going to happen until the Colvin building is ready for public health to move into. And then most of that stuff will be moved out. And then just maybe some tweaking of the AV equipment down there to make it more official. But how do you want me to proceed there?
Who decided public health was moving into?
That was a board decision in December.
That was a board decision?
I believe it was a board decision. It was brought before the board in December.
Let me know to confirm that, if you would, please. I interrupted you, and I'm sorry. Go ahead.
How would the board like me to proceed on making that Blue Room more of an official meeting room?
Yeah, I think with COVID and everything the way it is right now, that's a great idea.
I don't think it's going to be expensive to do. We already have all the AV equipment.
The only thing I'm
down
interested
there.
in right now is what's it going to cost? Just even on an initial basis would be very nice to hear.
I will look into that.
Thank you.
Last one is I have reported that council's job description has been posted. We've found that there have been about 87 hits on it so far, but 0 applications. Various reasons why nobody's applying to that, but one reason, as I've talked with council, is that possibly the salary range is too low. So I just want the board to think about the possibilities of increasing that salary, or maybe another option, in which council has looked into a little bit, is partnering with another county or city and kind of having a part-time council here but we'd also need to define that scope. Are they here just to sit in a board meeting? Are they available all throughout the day for any questions we may have? So just something to bring up to all three of you. And I don't know. I guess I'm kind of curious about what your thoughts are on a wage increase for that position.
I'm gonna need a little time to think about that. I'm not saying that's a bad idea. It goes to show you the good deal we got with Council Huddle.
I believe, yes.
I'd certainly be open to possibly coordinating with Coos County, District Attorney. I think what I hear you saying, we need to look at all options.
Yes.
Okay? Mr. Pash?
One thing on that is the district attorney's office in some rural counties, that is their legal counsel. So we may offer the district attorney's office to take one of their or to hire another attorney over there, and then we use them 75% of the time. He gets them 25% of the time. That kind of thing might work good if we partner with the district attorney's office on that.
Okay. Well, I'll look into that option a little bit more as well as some of these others. Maybe get something together on going rates for that wage. So okay, that's all I
Maybe if
have.
we raise it enough, he'll stay. Yeah.
Really, sheriff has to be the highest paid person in the county. So if we raise the
Raise it.
attorney, we have to raise the sheriff.
And that's really not my,
I know.
it's not-
That was more of a jest.
Go ahead.
Say that again?
Sheriff has to be the highest paid person in the county.
I think in his department, but I'd double check.
That's interesting. I've not heard that before. Not saying I agree or disagree with
Because of
it.
the kind of county that we're set up to be. He is the rule of the county, even over the Board of Commissioners. He is the voice of the county.
You just said he's the rule over the commissioners?
He's the voice. He can overrule the commissioners. He is the supreme voice decision of the county. Yes.
Well, I need that verified.
Well, of all the county law that I've read, that's the way it reads. So.
Okay,
Free enough.
you're next on,
Can I have the mouse, please, sir?
oh, excuse me. You've been waiting all day for that, huh?
Mine, I've been waiting almost 2 weeks. Mine is going to be just a matter of a minute. I just want to bring tribute to a man that passed a couple of weeks ago. And this is a very fitting picture of him because he was a warrior. A lot of people disagreed with some of his ideas. A lot of people disagreed with his apparel choices. But I will say he was a servant of this county. He was a servant to the port of Brookings Harbor. And I would also like to say I knew him as a friend and a good guy down deep in his heart. He cared. And I just wanted to give a small tribute to him and his passing. And I hope he's where we all hope to be one day.
So, where did you get that picture?
Off of his Facebook page, believe it or not. So anyway, that was my my comments, and thank you.
He was one of the most well-mannered people I've ever been around in my life. Just good manners. Okay, I'll go fast here. We had a report, some vandalism at one of the political party offices in Brookings. Very sad to hear that. I brought before the board a anti-violence, freedom to assemble resolution a couple weeks ago, and I'm going to bring that up again because we just don't want this in Curry County. And it was a broken window, could have been worse. I'll just say it was a Democratic headquarters, and it just doesn't represent Curry County, and I just sad to hear. And again, that kind of destruction and vandalism is just not representative of who we are in this county. COVID-19 update real quick. We are sitting at 16 new cases. That's not horrible news, but it's not good news. We are at 373 now positive cases in Curry County with 6 deaths. One new is, we lost tragically one new person just about a week ago. And so what that means for our county is that we could be going back to moderate from low risk. And you heard on my State of the County address earlier today that, wow, we're one of the lowest positive case percentage-wise in the county, or in the state, I'm sorry. And it's just another reminder to keep the mask on, except when you're talking, or the 6-foot distance, and just really be on guard. Our people, again, have done absolutely everything we have asked of them. Real quick here, Port of Port Orford, it was said not too long ago that the dredge that was being used there was bypassed the Rogue Basin, the mouth of the Rogue, and this is a completely different dredge. This they put on a barge that's out of the picture now, and then they take it way out in the ocean and dump it. And it usually takes about 50 of these bucketfuls to do that. So I just wanted the public to know that this is a different dredge. I've got 5 letters here that I put on your desk. I'm just going to reference them real quick, and I'll be done. Number 1 is the Senate Bill 592 that we all agreed to oppose, ban on lead for hunters and fishermen. And the other counties are waiting for us to send them our signed version. The second letter is to Senators Merkley and Wyden. The board can adopt that letter, or you can, again, as I said earlier today, you can write your own, or we can do a combination. But it's basically, also as I said in my State of the County address, the next American Rescue Plan, COVID-19 relief. We are in a good position to push for the amount of relief that should come back to Curry County, but we've got to be really strong on this. The next one is to Oregon Senator Dallas Hurd and State Representative David Brock Smith for House Bill 2417, huge cuts in mental health. That gives me, when I became a commissioner, one of the first things people reminded me, how are you up on mental health and what that means for our community? So I've been doing everything I can to really educate myself on that. We know about addictions. We know about social determinants. We know about all those things that bring people into our responsibility that we have to try and help. So now's not the time to cut those funding, especially for our youth. The fourth one that I put on your desk, Commissioners, is to Oregon Senators Hurd and Anderson and State Representative Brock Smith and State Representative Boomer Wright, the SBDC funding that Coordinator Madison discussed earlier today. She wrote a good letter, which I'm very happy about. And then I also wrote a letter that this is $2.6 million in cuts that the state, actually the governor's budget is recommending. It's too much. It's just, this is a very good program and helps our small businesses, business retention, business startups, all the above. Talking as fast as I can here. House Bill 2667, very excited about this. This is David Brock Smith's bill to put $450,000 to the State Department of Forestry for our Rogue River Siskiyou Regional Fire Training Center. And I'm pretty optimistic about this. We've spent so much time on this, and we have a shortage of firefighters in the country and in the and in the West and in Oregon. And Curry County could really lead on this and train firefighters at all levels, from rural fire department people all the way up to hotshot crews. And no better place to train wildland fires in Curry County. Also, there's a question. Finally here, there's a question on county travel. I have my records for all of 2020. I think my fuel bill was $30 a month for the average for the entire year. The county spends $16,000 a month for county vehicle travel. So yeah, I had several very important places to go, but I was very austere, very frugal, and that's also in the packet that I handed you all. So, Commissioner Herzog, you're next on Commissioner comments.
I will pass and get this workshop rolling.
Oh, we're only 2 minutes late.
Well, we haven't done our executive sessions or anything, so we'll probably have to recess
afterwards?
and adjourn to the workshop and et cetera.
So, but you're okay to adjourn till after the workshops are done, correct?
Of course, sure.
Thank you. So, Commissioners, is it okay to adjourn this meeting?
Yes, sir.
Start with our workshops. Good call on the time. Is that okay with you, Staff Jesuit?
Yes, but I think you're recessing the meeting.
Recess into, no, we're closing this meeting and going to workshop.
No, we're recessing.
recessing because we have to come back into executive session. Isn't that what you said a minute ago?
A little bit, yeah, it's okay. I mean, you don't want to get bogged down on recess, adjourn.
Yeah, thank you very much. So we're recessing until after the conclusion of the 3 or 4 workshops we have. Thank you, board.